Hello, everyone. My name is Richie. This is my co-host.
I'm Alex. I'm the co-host and second admin to the page.
For the page we're talking about, it's the Survivor What If page on Instagram. I'll leave a little link for it down below in the description. But on that, we do fun stuff. Like we try to talk about like what if X, Y, and Z happens? Like what do we think will happen this season? I was one who started it up. I had Alex join me with it, and it's a super fun time. A lot of fun ideas we've had on it. And one of the ones we thought of recently was doing an overall season ranking of all the seasons. Currently, as of this time, is Survivor 48 has just finished airing. Survivor 50 cast about to be revealed in a few days. So yeah,
All right,
I was about to say,
let's get right
I
into it.
a lot of what we decided to rank was based on a lot of things. Like for me, a lot of it was based on the gameplay at hand with certain players or like how they play. Even some seasons with poor gameplay could still be saved that the cast was really entertaining or very electric. Certain
Yeah.
twists
So
may or may not bring it up and down. And I definitely think there's a lot of not a lot of outside stuff, but some minor outside stuff could actually drag it down or bring it back up. So that's what went into my
yeah,
rankings. Alex, how about you?
yeah. Same for me. Kind of the overall plot of the season, the production wise, how many confessionals each player gets, and kind of how they kind of tell the story in their own view, and kind of how it's all made into one cohesive season. Also, of course, the playing of the season, if the characters want to actually play hard or just kind of ride the backtails of people, also plays a big factor into it as well. So let's get right into it.
All right, we're gonna start off with my number 48, which is Survivor Ghost Island, which isn't a surprise for people who know me. This is my all-time least favorite season. Very passive gameplay, very poor editing. It's very Dom and Wendell heavy focus, which you're a Dom and Wendell fan, great for you, but like there's 18 other players outside of Dom and Wendell this season. So like what really gets me mad, I don't talk a lot about outside stuff I hear outside after the game in most of these. This is one of the seasons I will. I make a joke with the season saying that we need a Snyder cut of this season because there's so much content I hear outside the season about how Chelsea was really dominating the game, how she was essentially Dominic's number two at a lot of point in the game and not Wendell. But did it show it? No, they think Kellen is a better narrator, and I don't want to shit on Kellen, but like her whole story is I'm 30, I'm divorced, and I went back to school and got a degree. And it was kind of like, that's it. I'm kind of like, why can't we get Chelsea and Kellen? Like, why we had to choose Kellen or Chelsea? It's kind of like, why can't we have gotten both? Well, even the twist itself is very annoying. Like, Ghost Island is very much like you could have a large chance of going up there, breaking the urn, and being like, no game for you today. And it's like, why? Why? Like, it's just Exile Island at that point, then with more decorations. It's like, the editing as well. It's like who is even half the cast? Like who is Desiree? Who is Angela? Who is Seabass? We barely even know half the cast. And Lauren is like, why isn't she making a move? We don't really get to hear a lot about that. Like, why is Lauren just constantly choose to be in a losing spot and then upset when she loses at the end? I don't know. Like, it's again, I think this is one of the few seasons I think we do need a Snyder recut of the season, re-release on the Paramount Plus, showing more content for all the players, stuff we missed of what was actually going on out there, and not just what they wanted us to see. So,
Yeah. So you'll hear me talk about Ghost Island sooner or later, but for my 48, I have Thailand. Again, a very just dark, dull season. Not a lot of good gameplay. Good characters and some bad characters. Not a lot of good strategy going to the game. Brian kind of just takes the hand of the wheel and just kind of drives to the finish line. Um, Brian's winning Brian's winter game is not really the best game as well out of the other four seasons before that. And the only thing really saving it is that attacks one challenge where shit went south. And that's really it.
yeah, it's actually funny that you have that because that's actually what my next season I was about to talk about is my number 47 is Survivor Thailand. I do think there's some okay characters in Clay. Jake is an absolute sweetheart. Ken is a really stand-up guy. Shian's an absolute legend. Helen had some funny moments, but like, I mean, outside like Rob and Gagne, everyone else is kind of like shitty, or it's like, who are these people? Like, Um, I do really think that the initial twist, which if people don't remember, this is one of the few seasons early on where they have an opening twist, where the opening twist in Thailand is that you have one camp that has an automatically built-in shelter with like a little cave, but you have to like go really far, like a completely different island to get water. With the other tribe, they have really nice water source really close by the camp, but they have to build a shelter. There's like nothing set on there, and it's just kind of like it gives away to some interesting conflict early on, but it's kind of like outside of like the Helen and Jan conflict, which I did think was kind of funny, where they're rowing the boat for Chewie God, and like Jan's doing such a bad job, and Helen's all like, if I had a gun, I'd shoot her, then shoot me. And I was like, damn, Helen, like you were mad. Like I do like Helen as a character, but like again, like even like Helen and Sheehan, Jake and Ken, like, even just kind of liking them, it's not enough to save the season. And there's a very dark tone that the season takes on, especially halfway through the pre-merge that just never feels like it lets up. Brian's stuff, which I'm not gonna talk too much into this. I say look it up and do your own research with it, with how Brian was trying to use very stupid tactics to try to win the game. It just didn't really work that well, in my opinion. It doesn't really age that well. It's my 47, so I'll pass it off to you for your
Yeah,
47, and
so for
hopefully,
my 47, I have Ghost Island, which is kind of funny because we both have those kind of swapped on the bottom too, which deserved. But I feel like the lack of theme is the reason why as well. The Ghost Island theme is not a good theme really, and in reality, but on paper, probably a good theme. It kind of goes in line with those 30s like really bad themes they had going on for those. But the cast was not the best. Of course, we really need like a better cut of the production wise there because we didn't get a lot of character development other than Wendell and Dominic and sometimes Laurel. But the season overall just felt flat. Um, the Navidi strong aspect of it was also just kind of corny as well, with them trying to stay together the whole season. That wasn't really a good narrative, and just it felt like there's a lot of recruits and not a lot of fans on the season playing the game hard. It was all just kind of laid back and chill, and that's just never fun to watch. So that's why it's in my 47.
thank you, Alex. I'm gonna go talk about my number 46, Island of the Idols. Here's a hot take I will have for this season. If it's not for He Will Not Be Named, I think this season is a top 10 new all newbie season. Like if they replace him with anyone else who would have just gotten purpled and ignored in the edit, I got medevac to quit at Final Six, or if they just have a 19-person season and like replace the reasons for what to do with like game reasons. I think this is like a top 10 newbie season of all time. Like there's great moves pre-merge, great blindsides post-merge, a little bit of uprisings here and there for power, but it's just it all gets ruined by one person. And it's annoying. It's annoying to
Yeah,
see one person kind of screw it up for everyone because he doesn't really listen and because production dropped the ball and didn't really do what they should have did. I think it's a very unsatisfying winner story with Tommy as well, which I really hate saying because like I like the fact that Tommy won. The fact that he has like a social game and that's the reason he wins, I think it is really good. Survivor is said they won a Borneo. Survivor's a social experiment. The fact that Tommy wins should feel satisfying, but we don't get any content with Tommy. The content we do get is very subtle and just bare. Like we don't really get in depth with Tommy. We get more in depth with like Nora, with Dean, with Lauren, with Janet, with Elaine, but we don't really get in depth with Tommy. Tommy kind of feels just like a stale winner because I don't even think they cared about him. Additionally, the last thing I want to say about the season, the twist itself, Island of the Idols, it felt like a cash grab because I think they realized the season right before returning season, most people usually figure out what that is, and they usually are like, I don't know if I want to watch this as much because I'm just excited for the returning season. So I think they're just trying to get a cash grab into it with including Rob and Sandra in there, but it falls flat in so many ways and just kind of sinks it down. So that's my number 46. Alex, I'll pass off to
Yep.
you for your
So my
46.
so for my 46, I also have Island of the Idols. So we kind of have the same on that one, which is great because not a good season at all. Um, a redacted name will not be named, of course, but he was awful. Production dropped the ball on it really hard because they didn't pull him at the right time and they kept him until the merge, which is like crazy to think about. That really kind of made it a very dark season for me and just not really fun to watch. Tommy played an excellent social game, but of course it was kind of just like in the background because they really want to highlight the twist of the season, which was again not a good twist, more of a cash grab just to put known faces on the season. Again, not a good season at all. You said most of the stuff I was gonna say, so it's perfect to go right into 40. The yeah, the yeah, just going on to the next one.
My number 45 is Redemption Island. This is I tried to rewatch a lot of seasons the last like year. I've tried to rewatch like most of the seasons. I think there's only like a few I didn't really rewatch. Last time I tried to rewatch Redemption Island, I think was towards the end of my senior year, like a little about roughly 3 years ago. I can't. Like, it's just such a boring season. Here's the thing. Redemption Island is a twist. I actually love it. I think it gives another level of strategy to the game of what I like to call free merge jury management, where if you know someone could get back in the game, you have to manage them so that if there's a chance they come back in the game, it doesn't come to bite you in the ass. However, this is the worst iteration of Redemption Island that we get in a season called Survivor Redemption Island. Like, I mean, it cast really brings on the season. It's too passive. Outside of Rob, Philip, Andrea, and Matt, who is everyone else? We don't even get. It's just the whole theme of the season as well as Rob versus Russell. They're gonna clash. When do they clash? Never. We barely even know Natalie and Ashley, and they both make the final four. It's like fun characters that could have made the season more interesting if they went further on. Francesca, Russell, Christina, Stephanie, but it's just the wrong people make it too far and they make it so boring. It's just a predictable season. Could have been better with a better cast. Great potential. Just yeah. I'm just gonna pass off to you,
Yeah,
Alex, because I could go
totally.
on for hours with
So,
this.
yeah. You'll see my ranking on that pretty soon as well. But for my 45, I have Nicaragua, and I know for you it's not, of course, like the lowest season on your list, but coming off of your greatest season almost ever, um, you decide to do a young versus old season, and it really just drops the ball there. Some funny characters. Um, there's just a lot of people that did not want to play the game at all, and there's some people that did want to play the game and they didn't make it far. And also, there's it just felt like again a lot of recruits and not a lot of real fans playing the game, and a lot of the recruits made it far, which kind of sucks because they don't really feel like playing the game as hard as the real fans do. Um, I did find Jimmy Johnson and Jimmy T's battle for power kind of funny, but then they both get voted out back to back, so it's again not a long a storyline, and they kind of highlighted that for way too long. Um, and I feel like Fabio was a decent winner, but like not really like a really good winner in the long run. You'll probably have more to talk about later on, but that's just kind of how I feel about that season.
Thank you, Alex. I will say, I am a little surprised you have Nicaragua so low, just because I do think there are a lot worse seasons than Nicaragua, like Survivor One World. One World, great. I almost said great with a W. Great twist, bad cast. I think outside like Kim, Sabrina, Chelsea, Kat, and Troyzen, who the hell is everyone else? Like you kind of know bits and pieces of Alicia and Colton as very villainous figures in the season. Monica, you kind of get a tiny slice of her in this season before she ends up coming back for Blood versus Water 1. Here's the thing. I think One World's a Twist is great. It's no like big gimmicks. I kind of get why they separate them into men versus women to kind of make it easier for the audience at the time to understand who's on which tribe, which I kind of get that in some aspects. But well, especially considering that a lot of the cast was like blonde white people. But again, a lot of people are under edited. The One World Twist just again, it's kind of a lot of recruits I feel like didn't really realize the importance of this twist, and as well as the fact that they cut it at the swap. Why? This would have been the most important thing to have at the swap. Like, why? It's so dumb. And then they have this dumb thing. It doesn't even last for 6 days to swap. Just leave him on the same island. You could have saved like a couple $1,000s on the freaking expenses or something. I don't know. Um, Kim's win, I do think is
Yeah.
very good. There was some fun moments of the season, like where Kat was out like at the auction with the sandwiches, like, oh my gosh, there's bacon on this. And Sabrina's like, she just asked if there's bacon on a BLT. Like, great
Yeah.
twist, so much potential, fell flat. That's all I'm gonna say. So Alex, I'll pass it up to you for your
Yeah.
number 44.
Totally. So yeah, I'll be talking about One World pretty soon as well. For my 44, I do have Redemption Island down here as well. Um, Again, it's a great twist for Redemption Island. Did, did not play out well this time around. We'll of course see it later on that it did play out well in other seasons. Um, I did like how Rob and Russell both came back. That was kind of a fun twist. I like how Rob got his win finally. Um, Even though it was just kind of just like a manhandle win because he just kind of took everybody to he just took the whole and just kind of held on to the whole game for the whole season, which kind of you know kind of sucks usually, but like he did it in a way that was like somewhat decent. Because it's Rob, you know. There are some fun characters: Andrea, Philip, uh, Francesca, and of course Rob, of course. But again, a season like that where it's just kind of like no one really wants to play the game and they all just want to sit back and watch Rob, do his stuff. It's just kind of not fun to watch. And yeah, it's just not a good watch. That's really all.
Francesca, sorry, I'm
Yep.
my mouth is dry. I'm getting treatment for it.
Yeah.
I quote that way too much too, actually. Not as much as I probably quote my number 43 season, Survivor 44. Personally, for me, maybe this is a hot take. This is my least, like, lowest ranked new era season. Not for anything bad. Like, I think everything at this point and above, for me at least, is not like anything's like massively bad with this as in the past seasons. It's just more of it's kind of meh on my end. Like, it's bottom tier because it's meh. Like, Survivor 44, if you're, it feels like a worser version of the Jalapal 3. Like the Tika 3 storyline is kind of good in the moment, but then once you kind of really think about it and go back and rewatch it, it's like, who really is anyone that makes the merge outside of Carolyn, Carson, and Jam Jam? Like, all the fun, entertaining characters or characters with strategic potential, they go before the jury phase, and it's just gets so boring to watch because it's Jam Jam, Carolyn, or Carson winning at the end. It's like a lot of them I feel become Ghost Island Laurel 2.0s, claim they're going to blindside the Tika 3, but then they don't actually do it. And outside the game stuff that makes the season even lower for me is the fact that the Tika 3 aren't even friends anymore. Thanks, Puzzle Twink. The birdcage idea, I do think, is a great idea. I think it was definitely interesting, but I don't feel like it amounted to much of anything, especially when other players in the season made fake idols that fooled people better than the production fake idols did. Like, no disrespect to Heidi, Carolyn should have gotten second. It's still horseshit that it happened that way. Um, I feel like a lot of Heidi's moves. I don't hate Heidi as a player, but I do think a lot of what Heidi does constantly just gives power to everyone. It's like she gets the power and she finds a way to make moves, power moves that give the power to someone else and takes it away from her. I have a whole like line of thing I can talk about someday where I feel like I can describe how I think Heidi could have won 44, but I get in the game you don't see everything, but it's still like it's frustrating to watch Heidi kind of give up the game to the Tika 3. So, and that's another reason. Like, I think the pre mergers, if they would have made it there, or pre mergers with Carolyn, Carson, and James Jam, they make it there, it's more entertaining. So, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Alex, you're 43. What is it? Let's roll into it.
My 43 is One World. So I do have it low as well. But I do have it over Nicaragua just for the fact that I love the theme of the season, a one tribe on one island. I do like more characters on One World than I do in Nicaragua. Um, Kim's dominant game is still one of my favorite games because she just steamrolls everybody and no one even thinks about taking her out at all. And it's still one of the most dominant games I've seen on Survivor. Um, I do like how there was a villain. I love my villains. Colton was a good villain. He really did change some stuff up. I do like how with the twist they gave up their immunity to go to tribal, and you just see Jeff's face like, what is going on? That is one of my favorite, Jeff, what's going on things ever because
That's
he was
such an
just in
iconic
shock.
moment too.
Yeah, so I do have it over Nicaragua just because I do like a lot more stuff on that season than I do in Nicaragua. But it's still a bottom tier season just because of how it all just played out. But I do like it over Nicaragua, so that's why I do have it at 43.
So my number 42, this is going to be a massive, massive hot take. The season just ended, or I should say massive. Some people will probably agree with me on this, but some people may be surprised that I put it below other seasons. It is the most recent season, Survivor 48. This is currently my number 42 spot. I think it's a case of great pre-merge, really bad post-merge. I think from what we were shown, a lot of players were very passive and emotional. This excessive talk of loyalty, honesty, integrity. Like I flashed that American Dad episode with the mural, and it has like low integrity on it. Like I kept flashing back to that. Like that, I got more enjoyment laughing during every episode, thinking of that moment than I did watching this season. I don't think Kyle is a bad winner, but I feel like what the content we get from him is like just him being so overly emotional, which I get the game takes a toll on you in that way. But if he does half of what he does in any other season, he loses. He took over someone who they all kept saying was the biggest threat to win, and he got lucky by being able to diss Joe and Eva at the end and having the right people in the jury. But again, any other season, I think Kyle loses. I don't think Kyle wins in many other case situations. And I guess the forced lost of vote things piss me off so much. And CBS, if you're watching this, stop making people lose their votes. It doesn't lead to dangerous gameplay. It leads to passive gameplay due to a lack of people eligible to make a move with their vote, leading everyone else to say, hey, if I don't have enough people to make the move happen, why bother? Like that, this season really bothered me with it. Like, I think if we would have had even just like if we would have had Stephanie, say Thomas and Bianca in the post merge over people like Cedric, Chrissy, Joe,
Mitch.
and Mitch. Yeah, and Mitch. Mitch is Laurel 2.0. I'm not going to go into this. I could go on a long rant. No personal hate to these in real life. But if we were to like swap around like Stephanie, Kevin, no, I'm sorry, Stephanie and Kevin say Thomas, Bianca over people like Cedric, Joe, Mitch, and Chrissy, or even just like some combination of that, like the season gets better. And what gets me even more mad about the season is recent stuff I've heard about how producers like edited together a season that didn't even happen technically, which if you've seen that on like Twitter, X, whatever people call it nowadays, like if you know, you know. But it got me so annoyed hearing that because I was like, are you kidding me? Like, if I don't know. I think it was
Right.
very misedited in a very bad way. And again, another season that we should get a Snyder cut out for what really happened. So, Alex, what's your
Yeah.
42?
My 42 is 41. Survivor 41. I know you hate this take, but it is one of the worst new era seasons I have ever watched. Um, for the new era of the game with the shortened days and more emphasis on twists, this all fell flat. The editing did the editing did not do a great job with fleshing out the characters, and all the attention on journeys and idol hunting and paranoia did not work. The cast was decent with Shannon Ricard being the highlights, but for a long break with COVID, they really fell flat, and it showed by how the winner Erica did not get the best edit, while the third place finisher Xander got double her confessionals, which is still crazy to think about. All, yeah, just all in all, not a good season. Um, yeah, I just not a good season.
I think it's funny you say this because it's not too far off from my take either. Because my number 41 is Survivor 41. Here's the thing, the cast actually doesn't annoy me. I think this was a great cast. Again, another season where I think Snyder cut, we need one of those for this season. Really showcase what really happened, not just what they want us to see with the advantages and the bullshit and all the journeys and um I think this was a great cast that like they all came in really wanting to play the game, all actual fans, but production comes in, they pull a Go Silent again, and they're like, no game for you today. They're dealt a really crappy hand. And if the only reason that the season is slightly higher than some of the other ones before it is because the players actually do try to play the game. Like there isn't one player who's just sitting there, who, or at least that we're not shown from the edit, at least, that is just kind of sitting there, letting stuff happen, go by. They're all trying to play the game, but the edit even brings it out even further. They highlight all these twists. And again, another outside thing I'm going to mention with this, Heather really wanted to like play out there. Heather and Erica were actually the ones really controlling a lot of stuff, and it was actually talked about the cast a lot in exit interviews. But Heather is notoriously known that Heather barked at production, not barked, but she kind of talked to production. She's like, why are you purpling me? Why are you ignoring me? And they said, because you didn't find any advantages. This is what they essentially told her. Obviously, it was in a nicer way, but like, it was so annoying because it's like, if Heather and Erica are controlling the game, why aren't we seeing this? Why are we seeing every round stupid stuff? I think if they introduced some of this stuff gradually with the new era, it wouldn't have been so poorly received. The problem is all this stuff combined with Jeff Probst going on a soapbox and for certain social issues, and just the edit was poor. Give a Snyder cut, to cut out some of the twist stuff in the re-edit and give us what actually happened. Show us Erica and Heather content. Show us more content for like other players. It just, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
I mean, I do think they come to play the game. So yeah, let's
yeah,
go on to
fair.
your number 41, Alex. What is it?
41. It is season 8 All Stars. That's my 41. And I'll get into it more. For a hype season like All Stars, it really fell flat. Targeting all the winners in the pre-merge did not work as well. And plus, having the Sue and Rich incident did not, again, was kind of disgusting and didn't really feel good to watch. Plus, Jeff kind of going after Jenna for quitting because her mom was sick or something like that was not a good look on the game either. Um, I did like seeing Rob and Amber betray all their friends. That was kind of fun. But ending up with a better jury and just kind of them just getting harassed by the jury in the final two was just kind of like a really like cringy thing to watch. And plus there's a lot of course, pre-game alliances going on, and if you're on the outside of those alliances, you were instantly getting targeted, and it just kind of blew. But that's really all I have for all I really have for All Stars really is just it was just a mass season.
It's funny you bring up All Stars because guess what my number 40 is? Survivor
I
All
like it.
Stars. Like we're psychically like
Yes,
I will say we did not
we are
share each
like,
other. Like like maybe talked
yeah, we
about
didn't.
certain seasons we'd
Yeah,
have on the bottom, but we didn't like tell each other where. Like I didn't think he was gonna have it like here. I thought he would have had it like a little behind or forward or wherever. Just the fact it's so close by. My
yeah,
number
we're
40 is
like,
All Stars. I pretty much agree with you with a lot of what you said. Like casting, I think is what did it for me. I totally get they can't get every single name back that they wanted. But why Alicia and Jenna Lewis over people like T Bird or someone who is very popular in the Amazon, Dina Bennett, underrated players should
Sean
still come
Rector.
back. Sean Rector, exactly. Like, I get the guy feels a little harder to fill out just because of like stuff going on, and just like
Yeah,
I get the guy feel was very competitive, but at the same time, it's like I do want to say in defense of Sheehan, production was initially Probst and production were essentially forced by CBS to put a Thailand rep on, and they initially didn't want it. Brian was going to be the rep. There was some conflict with that involving a paycheck where Brian wanted more than what they were willing to give him. They told Brian essentially go to hell. Not those words, but there was kind of like something like that. And what happened was that they had they were just not going to put anyone from Thailand on, but then CBS was all like, "No, you got to put one person from Thailand on," and they brought in Sheehan, which I do like that people like Sheehan. They do kind of get like Sheehan, kind of with Jenna Lewis too. They kind of get a bit of a redemption arc where they kind of get to show more of like what they're made of. But then you get Jenna Maraska, who's kind of berated for quitting by Jeff Probst almost, and like other people saying like, "I don't know if I could quit." Reactions they show in the edit to Sue situation was not handled well. Um, the casting just feels the problem with the casting, I think, was just the fact that it's like, why do we need first off, why do we need 5 of 18 from Australian Outback? We couldn't replace Alicia with like T Bird or Kelly Goldsmith or Dina Bennett or something like that. And like it's so complacent gameplay because they all realize at that point, hey, the further I make it, the higher of a paycheck I get just for being on. So, and even after Rupert reveals the alliance and the placement to Final Seven, they still keep with it. Why? Like, it blows my mind. And it feels like after the legs went off, the tone gets dark and a not really fun way. The Robin Amber's love story, great for you. You found love in an island. You found love in a hopeless place. Okay, Rihanna. But I'm a single. I like to joke around about that for people watching. But yeah, no, I just
Yeah.
Robin Amber storyline doesn't save it. It's not the worst season, not the best. It should have been a fun season, and the only reason it's above all of that is because it does have bits of old school charm in it, and it is the last time we see some personal favorites of mine. So that's my number 40. Alex, how about you? What's your
All right.
beginning
So
of your
my number
40?
40, I do have Game Changers as my 40 pick. For a season called Game Changers, there was not a lot of game changers on this cast. Sure, you have Ozzy and Terry and Malcolm and Sandra and characters like that, but like a lot of people get taken out early, and you just are left with like a bunch of like wannabe, game changers really, and just kind of blows. I do love Sarah as the winner because she did play a really great game, and she did really come out after her Cayenne early boot. So I do like how that happened. Um, but still, like, we have these controversies in these seasons. Jeff Farner, of course, the big issue of the season, of course, was that. Um, so that does take it down to my 40 spot just because of these controversies. But overall, a good season, but the casting wise wasn't really the greatest. You got a lot of early blindsides, which was great to watch, but you're taking out all these iconic players that should have been in the game a lot longer than all these returning players that just got their second chance, kind of. So again, good season for season the season 34, of course. Good production wise, but still just not a lot of fun going around, and it was just another mess season, kind of.
I've been kind of laughing the last couple minutes just because my number 39 is Game Changers. I didn't think you were gonna put it right now. Like I'm kind of laughing about it. Sorry. Ignoring the questionable theme, which I will say again, another little piece I heard on the outside of the season is that the OG theme was actually supposed to be winners versus jurors versus pre-jurors. So some of this cast isn't the worst if you kind of think about how they were initially called for this theme and then they had to drop it and come up with some other theme. But again, like All Stars, the big names go out early. We're left with more niche names at the merge. Who it's like I wouldn't have minded seeing if it was a second chance season. Probst wanted to do second chances too, but like CBS was all like, no, too early. The only time I think we all would have agreed with Jeff Probst in this case would have been doing second chances too here. I think that's the only reason only thing we ever would agree with modern Jeff with. But Jeff versus Zeke, I cannot speak. The Jeff versus Zeke incident, poor casting, advantage getting still pisses me off. Just it's like it's not the worst, but even like Sarah doesn't even get a satisfying edit until like really close to the end. We're now around like 8 or 9. We finally start to see like 2 to 3 episodes before the end that Sarah's really running things. Sarah's a threat. Why didn't we see that before? We could have gotten what we got and the Sarah content. Like again, another Snyder cut for this season. That's what I think we need to do. So how about
Cool.
it for
All
you
right.
for your 39, Alex?
Yep. So for my 39, I do have Survivor 44 as my 39 pick. I do agree with you on most parts that it was kind of a lackluster season with just the Tika 3 kind of running the show, kind of, and not really fleshing out a lot of characters in that pre-merge and post-merge. Um, I did like the Franny and Matt storyline. That was kind of cute, not gonna lie. There's still probably a couple out. Are they still a couple still? Right? Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Um, I did like Jam Jam's win, very deserving. I did love the constant Caroline screaming moments because that was always kind of fun to watch on TV. Um, I did also love the birdcage twist. That was a really good twist that was actually kind of fun to watch. But again, the fake idols did not work out in the slightest. The idol plays weren't the greatest, and you did have a medevac that was was going to be a fan favorite as well, probably. So an overall decent season, but like the editing and of course just kind of how they kind of overshadowed everybody just because the TKS 3 was so strong, just kind of makes it down to my 39 spot.
For my number 38, this is kind of around middle tier for me now. Like everybody else below, I consider my personal bottom tier. We're getting to what I kind of consider my middle tier for starting with number 38. Probably might be another hot take. A lot of these bottom middle seasons were harder for me to put out there. My number 38 is season 35, Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. And I don't want to say this is a bad season because I don't think it's like a bad. Like I would say there's a gap between my middle and bottom tier seasons, but like I want to put the season higher, but the gameplay, the edit, it's just I don't like how the season turned into gameplay wise. I don't like how it turned into whoever has an idol controls the game. It can be true in the right context, but I don't think it should be that context for multiple rounds in a row. The idol, I think, should be somebody that kind of shakes it up. But I mean, I do think forced fire making, additionally, forced fire making, I do think was always going to make its introduction this season, regardless. Like some people like to make a conspiracy theory that it was only made because he wanted to guarantee that Ben was going to get it because I think they knew no one was going to, if it was a regular vote, no one was going to vote with Ben. Um, but I also just, I knew it was going to be, I felt like it was obvious it was going to be introduced this season production standpoint, but it feels convenient for Ben. Like I don't believe they gave Ben idols either, but it feels convenient that he kept finding these. Ryan is someone that was back and forth for me. Ryan was somewhat likable early on, but I'm not gonna lie, I was a huge Allie fan. Why haven't they brought back Allie? Like Allie gets screwed by Ryan, and kind of seen like her boot episode basically be like everyone's screwing over Allie. And like when that gets me mad too because Chrissy and Ryan get put on the outs at the merge for keeping because people don't trust JP because JP's a big massive threat. If they took Allie, that wouldn't have happened. But that strategy part really I rewatched this a couple months ago. That got me really agitated watching it from a strategic standpoint. It really got me thinking it's like some people were not playing that well. A lot of people that were playing well weren't really shown. Like Rourke, JP, and Ashley, who it's like, how has JP convinced him to stay? Like we barely see anything at JP trying to, stay in there. Like he's really more subdued compared to the other people this season. And I feel like others got way too much content considering their placement. Like Jessica and Cole, I liked both of them, but why did we get so much content of both of them when Jessica gets voted out right before the jury begins, and Cole is second juror after Desi? Like, what? Like, how? Like, I don't know. I also don't like how they brought back a certain twist that they used to do it early Survivor and then they kind of stopped. I want to say around like China-ish, Survivor China time. The time of Survivor China, I should say. Sorry. Um, of like the first merge person voted out not being on a jury. I hate when they do this in multiple seasons. If you make the merge, you should make the jury. That's my personal belief on that. But the theme Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, it's pointless too. Like, why is it bad to be a not be a healer or a hustler or a hero? I don't know. Not the worst season, but I think it's far from the best. Sorry, I went out too long about that. Alex, what is your
Oh,
30?
that is perfect because you know what?
I swear to God.
It is my 33 as well. Sorry, not,
38?
not 33. Sorry, 38. Wow, I am off on that one. 38. Whoa,
Is that
hello.
really?
What?
Is that really
Yeah,
your 38? Holy
yes, heroes, and hustlers. Let's start with that name right there. Not a good theme at all. Um, this is kind of around the time where the themes were getting so like janky that it was like not even fun to watch because of how bad the themes were. Um, and plus, like, of course, we got a lot of purple edits. There was not there was no character fleshing out because it was only being taken over by Ben and Chrissy basically the whole game and part of Devin as well. But like again, it was a very like
sacrifice.
one what? Oh
And
no, you're
Dr.
good.
Mike, sorry.
Yeah. But oh yeah, Dr. Mike as well. And then it was a cool little like duo with like Dr. Mike and Joe just kind of being like their own kind of dual alliance kind of and actually,
The
playing good
coconuts.
idols as well. So yeah, it was like a good season, but like again, it was just it's kind of hard when you have nine idols being found in one season. It's like, come on, it.
Is it actually
Yeah,
9?
I looked it up. It was nine season. It was nine idols found.
I feel like I should have known that.
Yes, I had to look it up because I knew that there was a lot of idols found, but yeah, nine
Oh,
found. So it's like it feels like production was really going at it to have Ben win it, and that's why it's such a controversial win because then they implement fire as well, which is like you're just kind of rigging it out for Ben. It feels like, and I was a big Chrissy fan, so I was like, oh well, she lost, so that's why I have it this low. If it was a different season with a different season, a different theme, different players, it'll probably be higher. But for my 38, yeah, it is that season.
wow, that's actually really funny. Because the fact that, okay, I'm not, okay,
Yeah,
I swear, if you have the same one as
we
my
won't.
37,
We
I'm
won't.
gonna laugh so hard. My number 37, probably a little controversial. It's made it to this point. Survivor 42. And I can't rank this any higher because it's 41.2, but with a different cast and a lot better editing. And the biggest thing is that apparently the only reason 42 had better editing is because of backlash people had with 41 is what happened. But it is the better edit that we got. The characters we get that make me love this season. Like I love Marianne as a winner and for her personality, and also she can be like this really heroic, super sweet person while also still playing a cutthroat game and slitting your throat. Like I love Marianne. She's one of my favorite winners. Omar blossoming into this really phenomenal player was so fun to watch. Who's definitely one of my other favorites. Mike and Tori and Chanel, I think were all fun, entertaining characters in their own way. Where Chanel kind of just does a lot of it for the plot, I feel like. Tori just is all like very sarcastic, does not care. Mike's trying to be a really nice guy and come to terms with like I have to screw people over and play the game. But the 41 twist still dragged the season down. It is the beginning of the new era, and I said before, if they introduce these things little by little instead of all at once, maybe it wouldn't have been put against with such backlash. But no, they had to do it all at once. So also there is the Drea controversy where some people know, some people don't. It was some stuff that happened in Ponderosa with Drea saying a lot of lies about Omar that a lot of people did not appreciate outside the game after the season ended. I'm not gonna talk about it because I don't want this video to get taken down like certain interviews after the game. But I recommend if you watch this and don't know the Drea versus Omar controversy from Survivor 42, look it up and do your own research because it is something that drags it down a little bit more for me. So I do think there should be a lot more characters coming back from this season. Like Zach is such a fun presence outside the game on Twitter, despite being like the second boot of the season, or second overall eliminated, I should say. Um, but yeah, I don't think I can really say much more without dragging on for too long.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass it off to you, Alex, for your number 37.
Before that, you will not be happy with how high I ranked 42, but we'll go back to my 37 pick, which is 48, Survivor 48. I did also put it low just because of the editing. We missed a lot of stuff in the edit, and production really wanted to push the Eva and Joe storyline through and through, which makes sense because they did make the final three, but like we're missing key parts of the story in the post merge with how Mary and David were so close somehow, and kind of how and kind of how nobody knew that Kyle and Camilla were that close because in the edit they were like easily the biggest duo besides Joe and Eva. So
It's
it
a
makes
secret
sense.
alliance, Alex.
Yep. Um, I did like say in the pre-merge, the Mary Shine in the Dark was a classic with Justin losing his vote earlier in the day and having it come down to Cedric, the pushover to either choose Justin or Say. So it's really like that was a fun little tribal just because of how chaotic it was. Um, but yeah, again, a lot of fun. Shaheen during the bucket challenge, singing the "Ooh Waka Say You Know
Ooh,
Maka."
waka. See, I know
Yeah,
waka. I quote
that's
that too much.
that was a classic. That'll go down in the history books as the um greatest edit in Survivor history with how they how they did all that challenge. But yeah, again, it doesn't get higher than 37 for me just because of how the story was told, really.
Yeah, before we go off with my number 36, I do want to say like some people know, some people don't. I also have autism, and seeing Eva get on her as autism rep was so fun to see, but I kind of feel like they didn't really show like a lot of it kind of felt like I wish there was some rumors of stuff outside of game, kind of like I said before, with like certain things not being shown or what the real edit was of the season. And like one of those was how smart Eva was playing at the game, how she was a strategic force behind a lot of what was going on. Why didn't we see that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of wish we were seeing more of that instead of her kind of.
Yeah,
I do like the emotional rawness, but at the same time, it's like show us like I want to see Eva dominate the game
but she
strategically. But
made Jeff cry.
I can make a lot of people cry, Alex. We know this.
But it was
Jokes
Jeff.
aside,
But yeah, I get it.
yeah,
I totally understand. Let's get you to your 36
yeah.
pick here.
My number 30. Yeah, I could drag on and on about this. I did not like a lot of the other people got in 48. Um, but I do think it's a little more interesting to talk about than my number 36. Survivor to the Australian Outback. The first half of the season is great. Great cast, great moments and fights. You know, like Alicia versus Kimmy, I will always wave my finger in your face. Or like Jerry and Kel are like not arguing, but they're all like fighting about kind of like a fighting without fighting about the beef jerky. And then you have like a quote I love where like they're fighting Jerry and Keith are the chef that can't cook. They're fighting over fried green tomatoes, and Tina's like, "Stop it! On the timeout!" And just like, I don't know why I love that scene so much, but I find it so funny. Some of the challenges were pretty interesting to watch. Scoopin's evacuation, I think, is one of the biggest moments of television history because it really showed people like, hey, this is real. This isn't like fake. They're not like going to a hotel every night. Um, the Varner boot round in Australian Outback, I do think is very interesting because it does shows. I think it's interesting from a strategic standpoint, especially for the second season and how willing people were to just ride in a plane, manipulating votes and the rules going on. A lot of it's nostalgia. I do love this season, but what puts it this far down for me at number 36 and not any higher, after the jury boot episode, it just takes a downward spiral and it turns to like everyone just suffering and whining and crying about like the game while also trying to simultaneously play who can be the nicest to not piss off America like people in Borneo did. Even though Tina takes advantage of this to get in people's heads, but she does it in a way so that she could get the nice mom edit so she isn't hated by America. So I love Tina, love Jerry, love a lot of the players this season. Not all, but a lot of them. But it's just after Jerry goes, so
Yeah,
yeah, that's my number
yeah,
36, Alex.
yeah. So you'll not like how high I put Australia. I'll just say that. But for my 36, I do have South Pacific, the greatest cult in Survivor history. Um,
Damn, I didn't
yeah.
think you were gonna put that this low. Damn.
Well, I'll go through it.
Okay, sorry,
Um,
I'll stop talking.
that's fine. Coach and Ozzy coming back, great choices to bring him back as these two fan favorites. Ozzy getting voted out on purpose 3 times, sorry, 2 times, and then getting voted out of the third time at Final Four was kind of fun to watch him just keep on winning in that Redemption Island because that's a better Redemption Island than the actual themed Redemption Island. Um, what else do I have to say? I do like how Cochran flipped, and that kind of caused a whole chain reaction to get that whole tribe out. I forget the tribe name. I'm not good with those tribe names, but that chain reaction, and then kind of how coach kind of manipulates Brandon the whole game give to keep him on his side, and kind of how it all blows up in Final Tribal is always kind of fun to watch. But like again, it doesn't get higher than me just because of a whole like drama behind the whole like Christian cult thing going on there. So yeah, that's really it.
That's interesting. I'm surprised it's that low, but I mean, everyone has their own reasons for it.
Yep.
My number 35 and 34 were both flip-flopping. Even now, I almost considered flipping those two. Like I almost considered it, even as you were talking about your number 36, I almost thought about flipping my 35 and 34, but I'm gonna lock it in, keep it the way it's at. My number 35 is Survivor Borneo, the first season. I really wanted to put this higher, but like a lot of the cast isn't really that memorable in the show. Like you don't really remember that BB kind of just up and quits. If you don't really know about the Stacy Stillman incident outside the game, she's just kind of there. You got Ramona who's just kind of sick. You got Dirk, which who the hell is Dirk? Like a lot of the cast, even Gretchen, despite the fact the way Gretchen goes out, a lot of people don't remember her outside of that. There are so many great characters who play the game, though. There are so many great characters who play the game, like the Pegongs, the Tagi 4. I really wanted to put this up higher, but it's just like it's so rough in some areas and so phenomenal in others. The cast drives us up a lot. Like I would definitely say there's a bit of a gap between 35 and 36 with this, but like I don't know if I can put Borneo up too high just off of nostalgia alone. So it's I want to, I just can't. A lot of people didn't really want to play the game, and again, it was the time era, and I do think it's kind of interesting because it's the first season. They're learning the game and how to play it. Eh, it's just kind of some parts don't age well. Some parts are like, who are these people? It's a very top heavy cast. So, and even then, Dr. Sean's strategy. So sorry, Alex. I'll get to you. What's your number 35?
We are so off the rails right now. I have them again way higher than you have them. We'll get to that, of course, later. So for my 35, right, it is Worlds Apart. You'll understand. The main problem, of course, was that there was not enough people to root for. Rosa Parks got somewhat hijacked by an assault and offensive comments to and about women. Again, kind of controversial stuff. I don't like it in Survivor. Not fun to watch. Kind of cringy to watch as well. Kind of sucks to see it happen. Um, what else do I have? There was some big moments at the last few tribal councils as well as the last auction before the new era due to it being completely broken. And Mike's huge mistake of not taking his letter and kind of how that kind of unfolds throughout the late merge then. Um, this season has moved down a bunch for me. It started off in the middle of the pack, went way down during all the Dan and Will ugliness, but kind of slowly crept back up a little bit. So I can't put it higher just because of all the ugliness that has happened in that season. Just yeah, it's just not fun.
Yeah, you're gonna love where I have that season.
It's probably in the teens, probably.
I don't think it was that high. I don't know.
Okay,
We'll have to
okay,
find out when it
that's
gets to
fine
the point
then.
because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot where I put it, but it was definitely not high tier. I'll tell you that much. Um, my number 34, maybe a little controversial because I did almost switch this with my number 35. My number 34 is Caramelin, which I guess is kind of a weird thing, I know, but I do like the fact that there are people who were trying to play aggressive. They're trying to. You had a reaction to that, Alex.
Respect that decision a lot.
There were some iconic moments, like that whole situation with like Dawn and Brenda, and the little story about her teeth that kind of just goes back and forth. Brenda, I've always been a massive fan of Brenda. Like, I'll get to Nicaragua in a bit, and maybe people see why I love Brenda so much as a player. But like, I do think some of the challenges are really fun. It is the last time we see certain challenges back for a while. Like, I think Last Gas didn't return after the season until 43, if I recall correctly. I think it's a shame. Some of the fans have been asked back. Like Reynolds was actually pretty decent. Like Sherry had this whole like power player to who is she type of thing. but then the editing just gets so meh because it's like they just ignore half the cast, and it's like why? Like I want to see what some of the fans are thinking. Let's get to know some of the fans. Like
Yeah.
Snyder recut this season, add some more content. Let's get to know more of the fans and some of the favorites that they kind of just stifled. So I'm not gonna say much more for Caramon. That's like kind of all there is. But
No,
Brenda,
that's
I
fine.
love. Yeah, Brenda made the season for me. It kind of put her that high. Brenda and Cochran went finally getting his win was very entertaining to me. So, what is your number 34?
Well, it was also Kermonen. We have the same 34. I am
No
I am
shot.
excited about that. It is. I can show you the document right now, but I won't. But it is at number 34. And fans versus favorites too. Good on paper. Um, the the returnees were decent. Some of them, of course, not good at all. And then some of them were like actually really good picks
Francesca.
for the fan votes. Um, like Brandon and Philip did not need to be on this cast at all. Um, Brandon's total meltdown was, you know, again
Interesting.
controversial again. But it was actually better controversial just because it was just on him and not like a total like total like drama ridden thing. That was kind of fun seeing a live tribal at the challenge. Never seen before. Um, but yeah, you get the Three Amigos alliance with Malcolm, Reynolds, and Eddie. That was kind of a fun trio for a bit, and taking out Philip with their idols was also a classic idol play. Um, I love how that Brenda and Dawn's story arc with the teeth and kind of that whole story arc through the season kind of happened, and her having to show her fake teeth at the final tribal was just what a move. And then still not voting for her. She Brenda was a fucking savage for that, not voting for her close ally after making her show her teeth on national television and still voting for Cochran. Plus, with Cochran, he played this game perfect through and through. He never like was at risk of getting voted out. Really, it feels like. Plus, Eric coming back, he was a fan person. I know he's a favorite, and he got taken out by the producers because they gave him the wrong medicine. So that was a whole a dilemma there. But again, not a bad season overall. It's just mad because of the fans were just not great at all. The fans just felt like they were just stared for gawking at the returnees, and that's it.
I definitely agree with like pretty much all of that. That is something I forgot to mention for people who didn't know about it. Is that Eric said some interview? I think it was 2020, I believe, where
Okay.
what?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
around
where
there.
I think he basically said that he was allergic to, I think it was like penicillin, I think it was he was
Yep.
allergic to, and production was
Yeah.
giving him some of that for like treatment for I want to say it was a wound or something else.
Yeah. It
Production
was
was
an infection.
medical was treating for. Yeah, I think it was infection, and he didn't realize he was allergic to it before the season began. So it's not entirely something I'd blame them for because I think even he said he wasn't even going to work. He was, but it's still kind of a sad way for him to go out because he wanted to play so bad, and it's just kind of I do like the cast too. That's something I forgot to say. The fans or the favorites, I do actually like. A lot of them I do get with the reception Brandon Hands had in South Pacific. I do get his inclusion. Philip is a little sketchier. Francesca, why? Andrea, I kind of get, but then it's kind of like I don't know. There's some picks I agree with, some picks I don't.
Yeah.
Not gonna drone on and on about this like some people have about even to this day about my number 33 season. Survivor 43. I wanted to put this actually a tiny bit higher, but it's all the new era crap that sinks this down for me. This probably actually might be the last new era season I talk about for a little while. Um, and the first watch, it's eh. On a rewatch, it actually is not that bad. I actually rewatched this. I don't even think a full 2 months ago, and it's like the cast isn't the worst. Like they all come in wanting to play super hard. Like doesn't matter how far they went. I think there was only like really like maybe two duds on the cast, if that. Like, and even they still tried to play, but we're just kind of like, eh. Like, I mean, I think the only problem for me is the editing. The editing makes it really unsatisfying for me personally, just because it's like I feel like they wanted to pull another Erica edit wise and like a winner's edit, which Jeff, you can say there's no winner's edit all you want. There is a winner's edit. Stop denying it. Um, they wanted to pull in Erica, but it failed in the worst way. I don't think the strategy is the worst though, but you can definitely tell. For people who don't know, there's a rumor going around the last few years that production was so upset with the final three they got because they wanted fourth, fifth, or sixth place of that season to win that they intentionally gave bad edits to the final three to I don't know, punish them for playing the game. Like I don't know. That's
Yeah.
something I heard in the grapevine the last couple of years. But 43, I don't think it's a bad season. Don't think it's the best season, but it's a
Yeah,
season. So Alex, what
it
is
is a
your
season.
33?
33. I don't know if you might be happy about this or not. It is Gabon. Yeah.
What?
Um,
What?
if you ever wanted to watch the season and just laugh at all the wrong choices, this is a season for you. Um, like constant fighting. The schoolyard pick went terribly wrong, and all the right reasons, of course. If you're just looking to laugh at stuff. Um, the fact that they had to do a tribe swap pretty early on as well just kind of shows that the schoolyard pick just needs to be retired, and it was, I'm pretty sure, after that season. um, gotta love Randy just being Randy and just being a complete dick to people. But I can't
Didn't
rank it
want to give
high.
Sugar a cookie because
I
Sugar is
can't, yeah,
evil.
I can't rank it high though. I just can't, just because of how awful the gameplay was. Production wise, great. It kind of highlighted how bad these people played. But oh my goodness, I cannot rank it that high. I can't rank it higher than like 25 at least. If I rewatch it, maybe I might rank it higher, but like it can't get higher than 33 for me right now.
I probably won't be talking about Gabon for at least a minute or two. But damn, like I think Gabon's a fun season to laugh to. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
My number 32 is Survivor Nicaragua. I did a drum roll because that's the first season I actually ever watched. And
Yeah, I know you guys rank it high just because of that.
yeah.
And
Oh,
I,
it's actually not even that
and
high. It's still
my first
lower in my
season
middle
as well
tier.
as ranked higher just because it was my first season, of course. So
Right. I mean, I think despite the problems with the ineffective medallion of power, I think the cast is entertaining. I think it's funny you were just talking about Gabon because I've always kind of seen Nicaragua as essentially Gabon 2.0. The
the
gameplay,
worst version of the worst version of Gabon. Yes.
I don't think the gameplay is the best, especially with like two quits. But there's a lot of funny, entertaining moments, like Jeff Probst going full on sassy Jeff mode, where in the loved ones visit, where he's like, the losers will be taken and executed. And you do have some funny moments of Marty just giving up his idol to Sash for no reason whatsoever. And it's like, why don't you just play it, Marty? And then he can't vote you out. Um, there are so many fun players like Marty, Brenda, Gene and Dan, rest in peace to both of them. Both have their moments. Holly, Chase, and Fabio, I think, have some fun moments, but it's like there's also so many unmemorable players that don't do a lot for this season. Jimmy Johnson's early exit is still unsatisfying. Jimmy T going out earlier is kind of like, come on. The Kelly Shin incident, which I think you were talking about that earlier briefly, some people know, some people don't. Production usually kind of tells some players, usually they'll tell players what they can or can't wear in the show. They'll give them like five options, and production will kind of pick out what they want to see. They used to be a little bit more strict with it back then, where they told Kelly Shin she wanted, I think, to wear like cargo pants and like certain things. He only let her wear a sundress and a bikini, and that's kind of why she's suffering out there. And that's pretty much why she quit because she was upset about that she was just cold. She was exhausted, drained, and it's like if you know that rewatching it, it's kind of you don't really feel like angry at Kelly for quitting. You kind of feel bad for her because it's like production kind of just screws her in the worst way possible. It's like could you have just let like if they would have just let her wear at least a pair of damn pants, like it probably makes all the difference for her. So Nicaragua, I can't
Absolutely.
place it too much higher, but there's still some problems. Ineffective medallion of power twist, which is like, why didn't they keep this after the swap? It would have been kind of interesting to see young versus old. I do think was a very interesting twist, but I just think it kind of fell flat. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say for my number 32. Alex, what is your number 32?
Very controversial here. I have Fiji. Okay. Um, some people might find it surprising I put it this low, but hear me out. Young and Earl were great, but the entire season was sabotaged by the terrible haves and have not twist, obviously, um, which has probably gone down as the worst twist ever created in this show. Um, the drama between Dreams and Yao Man was very interesting with the whole car and Final Four debacle. Um, plus we get the almost the very first perfect game out of Earl, so that was always great. And plus the Edgardo blindside, classic blindside, probably the best blindside of that era for sure. But yeah, I just you know, is it entertaining? Yes. Is the gameplay decent? Yes. It's just middle of the pack. I can't rank it. It's hard to rank these 30s and 25 ones because they're all kind of the same. It's just based off bias at this point. So not my favorite season out of the bunch.
My 31 is Survivor Cook Islands. It's definitely a top heavy cast. I know it's kind of weird that it's probably another hot take for me putting Cook Islands at 31. There are some people I'd like to see back, but the gameplay is very much I2 versus Raro, despite big strategy coming up with like the split vote plan from Cowboy. The mutiny part's memorable, but it's like a lot of the cast is not memorable. Like, if you're a Survivor super fan like me, you might remember a lot of the cast, but if you're not, you kind of think like, who was Stephanie? Like, who was really Christina? Who was Flicka? Like, you don't remember a lot of these names right off the bat of your head unless you were like a massive super fan, Like, I think Exile Returnee was great, but it kind of just turns into very predictable. Like, they're just going to keep sending Candace out of pure spite, which was kind of funny at first, but then it kind of just like, I think even production was kind of tired of it at one point. Because if I recall correctly, I think they even stopped giving her Exile content at one point because it just kind of turned into the same thing every episode. Um, Ozzy kind of just wins out, and it's very predictable. The I-24 is just going to get to the end. The gameplay for me, the reason why it's lower than my number 30, which people might find a little controversial about this, is just because, again, like people were just not exactly playing the game. And I feel like a lot of people weren't playing. I think the right person won in the end. I think Yule was the person who should have won. I think it's very mid-season with iconic moments. So I'll just keep it at that. Alex, what is your number 31?
31 is Edge of Extinction. Flat is the best word. Flat is the best word I can describe about it. Just flat. Um, Rick Evans was the only true breakout from that cast. Um, unless you include Reem from The Edge just pitching it at everybody, but he was like the only breakout star from that season. Sure you do have Kelly, Joe, David, and Aubrey coming back, but like most of them were taken out way early, and Kelly was like the last one standing, so it wasn't really like a good theme to bring about captains just because they all got taken out early. Um, what else do I have to say about this? um, wow, I'm blanking right now. um,
Like the twist, the game moves,
yeah, but
specific players.
yeah, like the early attention on returning players wasn't the best decision, but a lot of characters were not fleshed out well just due to the edge twist. I didn't really like the edge. I'm just very against the edge twist and having Chris come back and win off of just because he was able to pitch his case to the jury the whole time he was there at the edge. So it wasn't really like a fair fight for Gavin, who was easily the front runner after Devin, Ray Devins got fired out. So it was just like not the best season to, yeah, just not the best season. You
All
probably
right.
have more to talk about that when you get to it, but yeah,
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that one soon. My
yeah,
number 30 is Survivor Fiji. I do agree with you. The twist falls flat with Fiji. I think more iconic strategy comes into play with Stacy's plan of like, let's just vote out the person who's least likely to have an auto played on them. It's a very uneven edit though. The only reason I think that this is higher than Cook Islands for me, because I almost did switch this in Cook Islands. Even again at the last second, I almost thought, should I switch these two? I thought no, because I do think there is a little bit more memorable moments, like the car thing, which I think that was actually probably the one of the many reasons they probably stopped the car reward. I think the cast does play a tiny bit harder. I feel like there's a tiny bit less us versus them at certain points of the season. And despite the fact that the twist falls flat, I do think from a survival standpoint it is a lot like very interesting to see just the disparity of both of them, both of the tribes that is. And I think a lot more people are flexible to flip and turn. I don't think there's really that much I have to say about it. I think a better edit, or like a better Snyder cut for people like Stacy would be nice. Cassandra, Michelle, but and not the worst season, far from the best. That's my number 30. Alex, how about
Yeah.
you?
My number 30 is Guatemala. Um, this season is just a middle of the road season. Nothing that stands out too much or that is really, very memorable. Um, yeah, and again, when you stick a cast in a hot, miserable climate, they do not want to play. They're just hoping for water at that point, like not a good environment to play in. Rafe was good for a few laughs during the rope obstacle at least, so that's a classic. But again, not a lot coming out of this season though, other, other than of course the two returnees. But that's really it though.
Thank you, Alex. My number 29, Edge of Extinction. I almost put this lower, but I actually do like the cast. I think the cast is great. They all came in wanting to play in one way or another, and despite Chris's unsatisfying winners at it, I still think he utilizes information given to him to plan out his best possible endgame. Like he played with the cards he was given, as shitty as that was, or that deal was. And despite the uneven edit some players got, looking at you, Julia and Eric, there were some shining moments for Devins, Lauren, Victoria, Ron, Reem. I loved like bring Reem back. Do first boots already so Reem can have a chance to get back in the game. Keith, I'm pretty sure outside the game, Keith is probably a very nice person. Keith drags the season down a lot for me, or not a lot, but like I kind of find him off-putting and very whiny, where he kind of is the reason he's in the Edge of Extinction to begin with. He's his own reason for being voted out, but yet he kind of has this holier than thou attitude that I got annoyed with it. It probably was the editing too that probably didn't help, but like Keith, I found a little off-putting. Julia and Eric, not really getting that good of edits. The return is getting so much screen time when some of them maybe not really have deserved it. I did like Wendy. Wendy was pretty interesting, but outside of that, there really wasn't really. It's kind of meh. It's 50-50.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
my number
I
20.
agree. All right, my 29 is Africa. Um, uh, uh, Other than a few standout players, not a lot really to the season. Of course, you have Big Tom, doing his big time things. The gameplay felt worse than the other two seasons. Um, like there were some fun challenges like the SOS challenge, having to make a sign for a helicopter flying by. That's a cool challenge. Of course, Africa being a theme, really cool, really fun, background, of course, and like a whole like they need to go back to these continents and just do some more stuff like that because it was a really cool season to watch just because of how interesting the nature element was and like you'll never see a season like that where you have to have snipers on watch because of how close the animals get to you. That is like a first and that is like pretty insane. But yeah, 29 is Africa.
All right. Thanks for that interesting thing about Africa. You might be surprised where I have it later on. My number 28 is the aforementioned Worlds Apart. I wanted to initially put this a lot lower. I actually was going to put this a lot lower than this, but I do think it's a little bit better than some seasons because people are trying to play the game, albeit in really bad ways, crappy ways, shitty ways, whatever you want to phrase it. Mike feels like a lot more satisfying version of Ben though, and even rewatching Worlds Apart recently, I actually still kind of liked it. Like it's not a good season, but it's not a bad season. I think it's it's not like as bad as like the bottom tier is what I meant to say. Like
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mike's gameplay isn't the best, but I feel like he still actually goes out and attempts to play the game. Whereas Ben just kind of gets up and says, I'm playing an idol. It's going my way regardless. Mike tries to work with people. He's trying to pull people left and right. I feel like he kind of starts to do that in ways where people look at him and they're like, oh, okay. Like,
Yep.
when Mike has this one idol where he tries to like help people and like give them hints. Um, I do think this is another case of a couple people ruining it for everyone cast wise, but to a lesser extent. I don't think the cast is the worst. If you really ignore Dan, Will, and Ronnie, the cast isn't the worst. Like, I mean, they're kind of some of them are kind of meh, but then you get like very memorable early boots and like who gamed so hard. She kind of got herself out super early. Joaquin, the bro with the bromance with Ronnie. You get Max, a super fan with who just does so much weird stuff with Shireen. You get Vince, the coconut vendor. um, there are a lot of idiots on the cast, but the good people do make it good value. I definitely loved Jen. Jen was one of my favorites of the season, and it's a shame she hasn't come back yet. Kelly, I think, is someone else who should have already come back. Kelly just gets screwed by just kind of being there at certain points at the wrong place, wrong time. I mean, is what I meant to say. The cast itself isn't the worst, but I think it's a season where it's like if you kind of reverse it, the season's a little better for it. Like having Vince, Lindsay, and Max in top five, I think would have been a little bit more entertaining than Mike, Carolyn, Will, Sierra, and Ronnie. As much as I love Carolyn and Mike, I think Ronnie sometimes is interesting. Sometimes a comment he make every now and then is kind of like, ooh, Ronnie.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it reverses
Washing
season.
dishes on my birthday? Come on now.
Washing dishes on
But
my
yeah,
damn birthday. That's all I wrote to say about
classic.
Wolf's part.
Yeah,
Your
totally.
number 28, Alex.
My 28 is Ko Wrong for my 28. Again, not one of the best seasons ever, not one of the worst. Working in his favor was this year unpredictably from week to week in terms of who was aligned with whom and what happened at Tribal Council. That that being said, working against this season is the fact that simply were not enough transcending players in this cast. Another problem for me was the unsurprising bitter jury, of course, whose egos simply could not handle being bested by Aubrey. While the reward challenge that caused three players to collapse was certainly riveting, also scary as well. It robbed us of Beast Mode Cowboy, which was a shame. The other medical evacuations from Neil and Joe, um, just kind of sucked because that was it didn't really help Aubrey in the fact that those were two right hand men. And just kind of getting to that point where those were the most pivotal votes for that season was when they both kind of got taken out. Um, all that said, there were legitimate moments of glory, like when Ty turned on Scott and Jason, classic. That and then yeah, again, not one of my favorites. It was just a mess season. That's really it.
This
Yeah,
low
I knew
though.
I knew you were shocked,
Wow.
but I
Okay. I didn't think you
do
were ever
have a
gonna
lot
put it
of the
this
new era seasons
low.
over this season just because of how it was just not the best season to watch.
Well, then you're gonna love where I have it ranked when we
That
talk
cannot
about
be
it
top
later.
10. If that's top 10, I'm gonna be pissed.
So my number 27, maybe it's one more palatable that we can agree on for the spot. Number 27 for me is Survivor the Amazon. I do think the first time we have a very big theme for the season. I do think it's a very interesting theme. One that definitely makes sense for the time of it being of its time, I guess of 2003. The cast is very entertaining. I think the strategy evolving further on, especially taking a big step up after Thailand, the challenges I think make the season fun. The location I think is very fun. A lot of the content doesn't age well. Like if you kind of look at it through a looking glass of like this was early 2000s time, it's not too bad, but like I do think it also leads to like entertaining content from that leads to Jenna's win feeling more satisfying. There's some iconic moments and quotes too, like the peanut butter and chocolate thing. I mean, regardless of whether or not people want to talk about it or not, that was an interesting moment of its time.
Yeah.
Iconic quotes from like example, like Jenna, like voting out. I think it was like voting out Dina. I think it was. She's like, "You screw me, so now screw you." Like it was something like that, which I love. Heidi just like talking about like I love this quote where she's at tribal council. She like injured her ankle or her leg, and she's like, "Hey, like Jeff, I injured my leg and I came in here with my brains and my physicality, and now one of them is basically screwed. And Jeff was like, "Which is it?" Like no hesitation. Like moments like that too of early Jeff just being like, "I don't care. I'm gonna say it." Like I do think are also very entertaining, but
Yeah.
I
Plus,
do think
plus
it's
we get Jeff with sunglasses on as well.
right.
Who
Like honestly,
who
like
could
this
hate
is
that?
probably around. Yeah, I like the location. We get the
Yeah.
birth of Rob Cesternino, but I think some other seasons above this are just a little bit more interesting with stuff that might age a tiny bit better in certain areas. So that's why Amazon 27. Alex, what's your 27?
Yeah. I do have Amazon a bit higher, but I do agree with those statements. My 27 is Australia. Just kind of backing off of what you said. Um, uh, on a rewatch, not the best season to watch. It's a bit boring. There's great characters, of course. But I'm gonna keep it short because you said a lot that I was gonna say. So, the Colby and Jerry, kind of storyline was kind of fun to watch as well. Um, Tina kind of sits, Tina like saving the whole camp basically because that flash flood that happened was kind of fun to watch as well. Um, and not no, kind of sucked how the fan favorite didn't win in Colby, but Tina did play an amazing game for what she had to do to win. But yeah, that's just my 27th pick right there.
All right, thank you, Alex. I definitely agree with that. Some of that. If the fan favorite would have won, it probably would have changed depending on what year people are watching it. Because if it's a fan favorite nowadays, Jerry wins.
Mm, yeah,
All right, so now we're
but
gonna
at
go
that
to
time,
20.
yeah,
Yeah, at the time, yeah. My number 26, South Pacific. I think you kind of touched a lot of what I was gonna say before South Pacific, but 26, despite the Christianity aspects, which never was well. It's like buying a gallon of milk or juice from the store to find out it's already run. Despite that, and some other people who kind of just get screwed over by certain people, both game wise and edit wise. I do think it's a fun back and forth pre-merge, where it's the only season I can recall where immunity between two tribes is always back and forth, back and forth. It's never two tribes going to tribal council in a row. And I do think even the post merge had some interesting moments, like the almost going to rock strategy, where if Ozzy, I think, had just played his idol for Cochran instead of Whitney, I think very much Cochran stays solidified. But no, Ozzy just gets so arrogant in the sense of like he only wants to protect the people he likes and not Cochran. And Cochran kind of gained his like, oh, haha, screw all of you people for being mean to me, only for him to realize, like, oh shit, I just screwed myself. So I think strategy takes a downturn, but I think even some ways in that downturn, even some of the people utilize that for their advantage, like Sophie and kind of Albert. Like Sophie's end game stretch with her versus Coach was satisfying. I think she's a great winner. I could probably go on and on, but I don't want to go too into depth. That's what my brief thoughts on South Pacific are. So, Alex, what's your 26?
yeah. My 26 is Survivor 42. Um, I do have it a bit higher. It's the better 41. We can all agree on that. They kind of cleaned up a bit with the twists and stuff like that, but not too much. It was just kind of a copy and paste. But the biggest thing was the characters. You get Marianne, you get um Jonathan, who you hate, but he was kind of fun to watch. Of course, you get Omar, you get Hi, right, Hi, right,
Yeah,
yeah,
hi.
Hi.
And
Jeez,
hi to you
yeah,
about the Jonathan comment. Okay. We'll
yeah.
get to that later. Sorry. I'm not going to talk about it now.
But yeah, you get good characters in this season rather than 41, which just again the producers did a better job highlighting these characters and not just kind of pushing them off to the side for the twists. Um, Marianne as a winner is a really great winner. The way she maneuvered through the season using her emotions was a really good way to um put a period on the season. Um, Again, just yeah, a really better 41, and that's why I have it at 26.
All right. Thank you, Alex. We're going to go to the top 25 now. And I'm opening up that 25th spot to my one of my all-time favorite old school seasons. Definitely my favorite of the original three, Survivor Africa. And despite it being one of the older seasons, I feel like it was a fun run. Like the location is just so much fun to watch. the Braun three and Kelly Goldsmith, who why hasn't she been back yet? She was an alternate for All Stars. You couldn't have brought her back any other way yet. Clarence, I feel like should definitely get another run. Clarence was kind of a fun character. They tried to villainize him, but it's like he can't really do a lot wrong. The Sambaroos, especially T-Bird, which come on, bring T-Bird back. The fact she was snubbed on second chances is horseshit. Even Lindsay and Brandon being kind of like the clicky people on the original Sambaroo were fun to watch. I think all of them make for great TV. Introduction of the tribe swap was really great. I think of that moment a lot where Kelly's like all like holding the buff. She's like, oh my God. Like Silas is like, oh, I'm screwed now. And like that strategy that even evolves from that, like
We
I
also get
that
the
was all
best
I'm gonna say for
auction moment ever.
what?
We also get the best auction moment ever as well.
Candy Bam! And
Yep.
I love that Ethan just takes it in stride and that like he even talks about it. I think it was that episode or a later one about how he and Big Tom just poke fun at each other for the most random
Yeah.
stuff. Like it's just Ethan is a great winner for this season too. And just there's so many fun people that come from this season. I'm surprised more people haven't come back from this season. Like this is actually a really great season. Like I really like it. So that's
Yeah.
Africa. Alex, who's topping it off at the bottom part of your top 25?
Bottom part of that is Survivor 43. Um, yeah, I have it high. Again, it's the better 42. Just it keeps increasing in quality, of course, each time they put out a new season in the new era. Well, except for 48, of course, but we can be quiet about that one.
And
But
44.
yeah, um, but you have these characters who are all in it to play. You don't have one player that's out there to try their damn hardest and win. Um, you had Cody making an idol hat and taking it to tribal and actually somehow managing to get an idol. You have fucking Jesse who managed to steal an idol from somebody because they were paranoid about this damn like at this dumb advantage, and he manages to take the idol from Dwight and then use it at the final five, and then plus taking Cody's idol as well and playing it on himself and backstabbing Cody. It's a really well produced, well played game, and of course we get a lackluster final three, but Gabler somehow pulling out a win somehow because the edit was so bad for him, and is that's why it's kind of in the middle because the winner was not the winner we wanted, but it's a decent winner for a decent season. That's why it's like right in the middle, kind of. It's I'm a big fan of the newer seasons because they all want to play.
I liked Owen and
Yeah,
Mariah. I will say that. And Sammy was only 19. Did you know that? He's only 19,
I
dude.
don't know, man. 19? Come on.
Right? It's just like
What? We were told that for like how many episodes?
oh my gosh, it's funny. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on to my number 24, which is Survivor Philippines. Solid season in the Dark Ages. Some people know, some people don't. The Dark Ages of Survivor is typically a joke between Survivor Nicaragua, the Survivor Karamoan, i.e., 21 through 26, which is kind of just the most seasons with the most factors with it. So for Philippines, I think it's a great season with great strategy. Some people trying to play the game and maybe not playing the best. Lisa, Malcolm, Abby, Maria, Penner, even Zayn. Like I really like them. RC, I personally really liked. I think some people think I'm crazy for saying this. I think RC would actually have potential in the future season. However, some of the other members of the cast kind of feel meh. And Denise winning also is kind of it feels like it falls flat when it shouldn't. Like we should be excited for her because she survived every tribal council, but it's like it's just meh because I feel like it's her lackluster edit. They seemingly don't really seem to care about her outside of subtly hinting that she's well situated in the game. A little more satisfying to Gabler though in some aspects, which is why I thought it was funny you just talked about 43. I had that comment in there already before, so I think that was hysterical that you just talked about 43. But challenges are really good. I like the location. kind of, it's a great season, but just kind of
Yeah,
I don't know. No hate to Denise. I think she's still great in this season, but eh.
yeah,
So
totally.
Alex, what's her 24?
24 is Survivor 46. And I know. Um,
What? What?
you
Sorry.
have it higher, right?
Well, I'm not telling you that yet.
What you do? Well, okay. Um, well, there were plenty of blindsides. There were a few, if any, pick your job off the floor shockers, of course. Um, this this was next level gameplay, though. You know, there was a lot of idols being taken in pockets out the door. The one thing that's stopping us from getting higher is, of course, Banu. It can't get higher.
Fucking Banu.
Yes.
Sorry.
If Banu was not in the season, this is an easy, like, 15, 14, top 14 season probably. But this is, but Banu ruins it wholeheartedly. And of course, we get Liz with the Applebee's incident, classic. But Banu really ruins this
I
season.
love that
In the
moment.
yeah, yeah, like yeah, in the pre-merge, it just ruins it. But you do get these heavy hitters. You have Q, Hunter, Venus, um, of course Kenzie, Tiffany, but I just cannot rank it higher because of Banu. And I wish I could. I really wish I could. I wish I could rank it higher, but I just can't.
I totally get it. Banu's
Yeah,
definitely. I try not to be too nasty about people, most people. I'm sure Banu's a really nice person outside the game, but like in Survivor it was, yeah, I
yeah,
people know he's my
not
least
fun.
favorite player. Like I think if
Yep.
he ever came back, he would have to like change up how he acts. So hopefully you won't be like as pissed off as Liz with my next ranking, which is number 23, Survivor Marquesas. Almost put this below Philippines. I just love the cast more. I think some of the minor characters even feel like they have more to do than in a lot of seasons. Even some seasons I have ranked higher than this. I feel like there are more characters have more to do. Like you have Sarah going on her Queen, I can't speak. Queen Cleopatra. Hopefully I didn't say what I thought I said. Queen Cleopatra run and getting swap sniped. Gina kind of being the one that just trying so hard to survive day by day, getting screwed. Peter with his little holes talk. Not what people think it is. I'll say that. Get your mind out of the gutter, Alex. Um, and even like people like Boss and Rob's first introduction. You have the fun introduction of like Kathy, Sean, Besepia, Nalia. Even Tammy was one of my personal favorites watching the season. Zoe, that's kind of like a joke character, is really funny. John Carroll, like Sean voting off John. When you're in Vegas, always bet on black. Like so many iconic quotes and moments. The coconut chop challenge, always iconic. I actually like the location. I know this was a horrible location for them to live in. Even Pro said in production said they despised it. But like, for cases, it's just
Yeah,
such a fun season. So
yeah,
it's
totally.
at 23. Alex, what's your 23?
23 is Panama Exile Island. Um, as a big Terry fan, you know, my number one fan, Terry. But no, but in reality, um, I can't see me ranking it higher than 23. Exile Island was a cool twist when it was first introduced. Aris and Terry's battled so hard in every challenge. And while they clearly didn't like each other out there, the mutual respect was always evident with Terry finally going out in the final challenge. That may or may not have been completely fair, of course. Shane Powers should have been brought back for Heroes vs. Villains or Second Chance, but he wasn't. That sucks. But that whole tribe basically was just like a whole like what is going on tribe, and that is like what kind of carries the season into my 20s is that tribe because there's always something going on that tribe, and of course we get Cerie's first game, brilliant gameplay by her, of course, but it's a decent season, but I can't rank it higher than 23. There's better ones, I feel like.
My number 22, I'll talk about Panama later on because there's a funny quote I almost wanted to mention from that
Yeah.
that I think I just quoted last weekend. My number 22, people are gonna be surprised I have it up this high. Survivor Guatemala, which frankly, I don't think it's that bad of a season. I think it's very underrated. It's definitely not the best season, but I do think it deserves a lot more praise than what people seem to give it because I feel like people just forget it's even there. It's not the best season, but there's some definitely iconic moments and decent gameplay. Like Jod being like, I hope you get bit by a bunch of crocodiles, man. And then you get some other funny, like cool or funny moments, like Jod trying to look for the idol, where Hidden Meteor House first introduced here. His first iteration is not great, but you get Gary Hogaboom. Oh, I'm sorry, from Gary Hawkins, humble landscaper. Um, from what Nebraska did he say? I don't remember. But you get Stephanie and Bobby John coming back. Stephanie's complete heel turn from America's sweetheart to her staring daggers at everyone, eating all the food. Like I love Stephanie, and her heel turn here was so fun to watch. How close she gets to winning. She gets to the final two, loses 6-1, and it's like I don't think Stephanie or Bobby John would have won against a newbie player, but just like I mean, the location's great. The one thing I do want to say that I don't think you mentioned with this, there was a conspiracy I heard, actually, I think a couple days ago, actually, a few days ago, within the last week for sure. Apparently, the real reason why everyone in episode one, this is a conspiracy, so don't quote me on this. I heard about this, I think on Reddit or something, where apparently Nakum had uh several pots and pans, etc., for clean drinking and like what water had to be boiled to be clean or whatever. John, they had, I think they had like a lid on the ones that needed to be boiled, and the ones without the lids on were fine. You could probably imagine what happened. John accidentally like put a lid on one of the clean ones, and they started drinking the dirty water. And the conspiracy is that that's the reason why a lot of them early on were suffering. I do think the location, despite being very intense, I think it kind of adds a bit of uniqueness to the season, especially leads to fun moments with the water pool thing to get later as a reward with Danny's birthday. And like, it leads to some very iconic moments like that. So I feel like it's a very underrated season. Should be talked more. I personally loved it. I like Guatemala. So yeah, Alex, what's your
Mhm.
22?
22 is Survivor 45. Yeah. When you have two quitters in the first like couple episodes, not the greatest season. But then it kind of, it kind of goes up a bit now. When you have to merge, you get probably the best shot in the dark episode ever in Caleb. Like it is again, if you screenshot that like one picture, everybody's mouths were just open and just like in shock. Like, how did you manage to hit that? The Kelly blindside, amazing, of course, as well. Or was she voted out? No, yeah, it was a blindside, right?
Yeah, Kelly
Right?
was
Yeah,
blindsided. Yeah, final 10.
yeah, yep,
R.I.P.
yeah.
No, she's not dead. Let me first say she's not dead. Sorry. I meant her game. I feel like people are gonna freak out if I didn't put that in
No,
there.
but it's fun because I think this is the first. That wasn't the first season. Never mind. But you do get a lot of character development now because they keep building up on this new era stuff, and they're learning from their mistakes from the past seasons. But you get a lot of great character development. You get Bruce back, and the Bruce and Katura fights were constant throughout the whole season.
Bruce.
You have Jake being just a Charlie Brown edit, and it's just like he cannot find a step at all. And when he had a chance to take out D, Katura just steps in and just says "fuck you," and it's just like insane. Like it's just an insane roller coaster for that guy. I feel bad for him sometimes, but the but Austin and D really just kind of ran the season. Julie also was in the background, and of course, but I do feel like this is a big step up for the new era. But I can't rank it higher, of course, just for my oh, just from my ranking. I'm ranking a lot of the lower seasons higher just because they have more grit with it, while these new seasons don't have a lot of grip, but they do have a lot of players that want to play at least. So yeah,
Wow, we're already at 21. Alex, you want to guess my 21? Like
what is it?
I was trying to do the GIF, GIF, whatever. It's Gabon. I was trying to do the Maddie one.
Oh,
Where he's
okay.
like
Oh, yeah, the
smiling, like,
Maddie.
yeah, I was trying to do that. I was waiting. That was so
I totally did.
awkward.
I totally okay. Yeah.
I almost want to cut that out now, but I don't think I should.
Nah,
The
you're
Office is
good.
just funnier. Funny cast, horrible gameplay, but that's why I like it. It's
Yep.
funny, you know. Randy doesn't want to get sugar a cookie because sugar's evil. Like so many memorable quotes. Forget you. Go home. Goodbye. Like I
Yep.
love Crystal. Like Kenny should have come back already. In fact, he wasn't even eligible for second chances. Come on, Maddie too. Like even Susie. Like Susie. People do not like Susie as a game player. Susie, I like Susie. Like Susie just watch it. In fact, she actually comes close. She actually does not have that bad of a final tribal performance. I think she has a couple slip ups early on, but like any other season, she's probably one of the first voted out. Her making it to the end of Gabon and almost winning it is hilarious. Like, imagine if Susie wins Gabon and somehow gets on Winners at War. We were that close to that. So, location's really fun. Really wish it would go back to it, but yeah,
Good,
there's a lot of
good challenges as well.
right,
Good
great challenge.
challenges.
Like, why haven't they brought
Yep.
back the water slide one yet? Where they have to like that? That was a fun challenge. And it's a very easy one.
Yeah.
Jeff Probst loves to do everything with puzzles nowadays. Do a
Yeah.
water challenge. Like you don't even have to construct a giant slide to do in later seasons. Just get a little mini water slide. You find it a freaking Six Flags or Wisconsin Dells. I don't know. So that's 21 Gabon. I'm taking too long with some
All
of this,
right.
so I'm gonna pass 21 to you now, Alex.
All right. 21 is Sanuel del Sur for my 21st pick. Um, it's low just because of John Rocker. That's it. The season's great overall, but John Rocker tanks this season hard. He's a too big of a power player, and he just overplays his steps, and he just looks like a complete buffoon. Um, but you do get really great characters. Keith, Jeremy, Natalie, Wentworth, like they're great characters. They come back and almost all win, but you do get really good characters. I do love Reed again. I wish he came back. You get Missy, boo, but you know, great season overall. I do have seasons that like better than the season, of course, but it is a for sure a season out for sure. Watch back and just laugh and have fun with. But again, strategy wise, not the greatest. Strategy wise, you get of course Natalie just steamrolling everybody in revenge for Jeremy, and that is always fun to watch. Get the John Blindside, love it. But yeah, Nelly easily won when it came to the finale, so it wasn't a big surprise, but you know, still fun to watch.
Thank you for that very interesting thing. I'll definitely talk about Sin Wondel Sir when we get to that point. My number 20 is Survivor Vanuatu. I think it's overratedly underrated. I think more
Yes,
players should have came back for this
yes,
season. Like Leanne, well, it turns out was the one running the game, but production didn't really want to show that. Kind of like a Ghost Island with Kellen versus Chelsea, except the fact that I do genuinely think that Amy was a little bit good of a choice to have for I wish we would have had more of Leanne running the game and show Leanne was running the game and that Amy was also running it alongside Leanne. We could get both, but it's earlier Survivor. I kind of give it a pass, although Snyder cut. Chris's underdog run is fantastic as well. I think there's a lot of memorable players that make the season fun to watch. Constant fighting, major uprisings. Even the first four episodes, where people say like, "Oh, the first four episodes are the worst." Not bad. They're not great, but they're far from the worst. Like they're not that bad. Like honestly, I think people were just saying it because they came right off the heels of All Star, so fair enough. But like, it's not bad. Alex, what's
yeah,
your number
totally.
20?
No, number 20 is Survivor 47. This is by far the best season out of the new era, easily for me. You have really great players that are playing the game very hard and are really willing to make risks and take them. Um, and it was really wonderful to see, not just because their blind sides, but because so many players were so emotionally invested in the game and outcome of the season. This early and mid game parade of tears and jeers out of tribal council truly felt like an old school Survivor season. of course, emotions cooled after that, but season 47 then gave us the signature moment of Operation Italy, which is one of the greatest one episode tribals, like stretch tribal we've ever seen happen. This is a whole episode kind of arc going on there, and it played out perfectly for them. Of course, Rachel still wins, but like, that one episode arc really pushed them further into the game and made them actually a bigger threat, of course. But can't do much with that when you don't have a lot of power on your hands. But 47, loved the season, loved the winner, loved all yeah, loved almost all the characters except Sue. Sue sucks, but yeah, I'll,
Damn,
I'll
coming
leave
in
it at that.
hot with the Sue hate. Okay.
Yeah, man, she sucked. I'm happy that Cal voted for Sam.
Um, all right, so we're in my personal top tier now. Obviously, it's like a lower top tier, middle top tier, and like high top tier. So we're kind of in the low end of what I personally think is my top tier. Alex, I assume we're still in your middle tier.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, Starting off the top 19 now, Survivor 45. I think it's the third best New Era season in my opinion. The two quits dragging on a lot. I think you kind of said a lot of it before. I love the cast. The cast makes it what it is for me. I love that there is
yep,
dynamics that seem to really work well. The cast meshes well in a perfect realm of like conflicts, gameplay, but like respect for each other regarding the game, even if they're willing to fight each other and bicker and whatever. Like I think it was a fun cast. Caleb Schottendark really brings up the season. And quick plug in for the What If channel. If you guys are watching this, you want to hear some of our thoughts about how we think certain things would have went down if they went differently, go follow Survivor What If on Instagram. I will link it in the description below. Totally shameless plug here. 45, I think it's a great season. Fun moments, fun cast, and even some of the pre-mergers feel like really great players outside of like one person one I'm not going to talk about because I would be here for a while. But Alex, what is your number 19?
number 19 is the Amazon. I do have it high just because you get great players in this season, of course. Rob Cesarino, great player. Hope he comes back sometime in the next decade. um, but it does get right down because of all the um, you know, horniness, I would say, just straight up of the men, and just kind of how oppression was kind of like, highlighting all of these, like crazy things that was going on, which would never pass now in these days. But on a rewatch, it's not really fun. Of course, the chocolate and peanut butter thing was crazy, and
Not
the
pretty.
overall game play was, it was pretty great. But it's just way too, extra for me, and that's why I have it at 19. A great character, great season, a bit too horny.
I wanted to say a joke, but I think it's gonna get flaked out. I was saying I was craving peanut butter. I love peanut butter for people who don't know that. I really like peanut butter. So now I'm craving it. I'm gonna go to my number 18. My
Yeah,
number 18 is Survivor 47. I think it is the second best New Era season. I'm not gonna put the New Era seasons too high because there's still the New Era crap that makes me not
yeah,
like it's still better than other seasons I have below it. I love the
yep.
game. I love the game. I love the cast. Rachel winning, even though it kind of is like a Mike and Ben. Like I like Rachel's win. Like a lot of great players from the season. Rachel versus Sam at the end was fun to watch. I liked Andy. I love Genevieve. There are so many great players throughout this cast as well. I don't know if I can really get too much more into it without just droning on and on and on about it, but like some characters have missed potential. Some characters should be brought back 100% for sure. So, Survivor 47, that's my
Yeah.
number 18. Alex, how about you?
18 is Vanuatu. I agree that Chris is a very underrated, winner. He should have been brought back for, of course, Winners at War, but of course, I think scheduling kind of fucked up his thing or something like that.
I thought it was
But
health
I feel like,
issues.
but I feel like he should have been brought back because he is such a good player. He tells a really great story in his confessionals as well. He's a very good storyteller when he's on camera, and of course, his his lo- his long run of trying to beat out all the girls and somehow managing to do it without getting voted out is insane. And it, it's fun to actually watch somebody work from the bottom, actually manage to get always to the end and win somehow. And just his final tribal was like one of the greatest final tribals ever as well. Managing to play with everybody's emotions and somehow manage to get votes towards his way, even though he managed to piss off a lot of people in the jury. But it is one of the best played, post merge games I've watched on TV. So that's why it's at 18.
Cool. Thank you for that. Because Vanny Water is a fun season. I love it. So I'm glad we're kind
Exactly.
of like close by with it.
Yes.
My number 17 now we're on. Survivor 46. It is the last new era season I have on my list. I think it's the best new era season. I love the cast, minus Banu. I love
Yep.
the fighting that comes. Even like some of the crappy moments where Banu even are kind of funny, like meme worthy almost. Where like he's like, "Please, Tiffany, help me!" Just looking at
On
like
his
Banu.
knees,
Yeah, on
begging.
his knees. Tiffany's like, "Banu, get the hell up off the ground. I'm not helping you when you're gonna do
Yeah.
this. Tiffany, please, I need you." Just, it's just
Insane.
like
But
right.
yeah, I, I do agree with the casting is great. So
Funny cast. They fight a lot. I love the idols. How the fact that even it's unprecedented currently has not been followed up since, where it's just back to back to back to back, four
yes.
players in a row blindsided with an idol in their pocket. Even Gem goes out like a couple rounds before that. I really wish Gem would have made merge, but like, oh, but like
Yeah. Totally.
Liz, I'm pissed. Like I love Liz so much.
Yep.
Like,
I can't go
oh,
to
my
it. I
voice is
can't
gonna
go
be
to
so
an episode
high pitched listening to this, but
anymore without saying that now.
I love I every time I see mushroom Swiss or whatever the
Mushroom
burger's called.
Swiss.
Yeah, I
Yep.
every time I screenshot it, I send it to you immediately and I quote it.
Yep.
I'm pissed.
Is
Oh,
one of the longest running trends we have with each other is that dumb Applebee's thing, but it's so funny every time I see it because it's just like the most
they didn't
insane
even
breakdown
have a
of a
moment.
person ever.
They didn't even eat it. They
All right.
didn't even eat it.
Yeah.
They were even hungry, and it's like, dear God.
Yeah.
I'm
All
sorry,
right.
I didn't interrupt you. I'm sorry.
That's fine. So for my 17, I have Marquesas, a very underrated season that saw the first totem pole shakeup ever, where the people on the bottom got together and to overthrow the top. Amazing. And that's not all. The season gave us Kathy Ping on John's hand. The appearance of the dreaded Purple Rock and the most entertaining player in Survivor history to only play once in Sean Rector. Why is he not back yet?
Exactly.
Also,
That's what I've been saying. Sorry.
also Boston Rob, first appearance became a great. But yeah, number 17, great season, great players. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for that for your number 17, Alex. We now have number 16 in my 16 at least, Survivor Palau. Iconic oolong, in my opinion. I love the challenges in the war theme. I think they were really cool. I'm pretty sure this may have been the births of the challenge. I think they call it Sumo at Sea, where they have those like giant bags and have to like push them out. I think this might be the birth of
Yeah,
that challenge.
it was. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad that a lot of great characters go home early. But it feels a little more satisfying in some aspects just due to the overall story of Karor dominating. But like, I would have loved to have seen Angie go further. I would have loved to have seen Kim. I feel like even had a tiny bit of potential as a potential strategist going forward, like surprise strategist. You get kind of some players on Karor who just clearly overstay their welcome and just get lucky at the fact that it's Palau. But Colby, I'd love to see back. Angie, Jen, RIP. I would have loved to see both of them back. Um, and fun fact, Angie, I think actually may have graduated from our high school. Actually, I'm not gonna dox us and say where our high school is. But I think I actually heard the years ago with that. It was way before we went there. But like Angie, Jen, RIP. That's all I have to say for my number 16. Alex, how about you? What do you have to say for your
All
number
right,
16?
my 16 is Samoa. Yep. Russell's control of the game, especially post merge when his side was down 8-4, was truly a work of art, evil genius art. I would say he was, of course, denied in the end, though probably in the most controversial jury jury ever. Russell's mm, uh the other
Juan?
sorry, Russell Swan's medevac was one of like the most insane ones since, of course, Scoopin. So like that was actually pretty insane because he worked so hard at camp that he just wore himself out and just almost died on the fucking ground in Samoa. So that's pretty damn crazy. You get good characters like Shambo, Russell, of course. But again, it's not there's not a lot of great characters because it kind of gets or it kind of gets overshadowed by Russell because he took up like 100 confessionals. So you don't get a lot of character growth within the show. But when you have a character like Russell, you've just got to give him the screen time because he is again one of the best villains the show has ever seen. His auto blindside is still one of the best in the show as well. Um, but yeah, it's just like decent season, you know. I still wish Russell would have won, but that's what the jury is for. But yeah,
Interesting take. We'll definitely get to Samoa in a little bit. My number 15 is Millennials versus Gen X. I think it's a very fun. You're already looking at me like that. He gave me a funny look. I don't know if people saw it. But I think it's a fun cast for dynamic gameplay. There are power moves happening every round. I love Adam as a winner, but definitely feels a little bit more game body. There are some players who don't feel fully fleshed out. The edit very much favors David, Jay, and Adam. I feel like a lot of characters like Chris and Brett, like Brett makes Final Five, but we outside of like a conversation he has with Zeke, I don't really see a lot about him. I do think this is a very fun cast, but there are people we just don't really get to know. And it's like, I kind of get certain players if we don't really focus a lot on them, but it's like Lucy's supposed to be this massive power player socially until her elimination, where she just goes full on like Boston Rob on some of these people. And Lucy doesn't even get like content till like the third episode. Like, it's like, who is like Lucy? Who is Cece with Jackson from 42 loved Cece. Did you know that? He thought Cece was just very elegant. If you haven't seen
what the heck?
the pregame stuff for if and people watching haven't seen the pregame content for Survivor 42, go watch it. Just know now the joke is that he meant to say Suri, but he accidentally said Cece. So the joke is that production had to like scramble for CC content because I think that's the only time she's ever been mentioned since Millennials versus Gen X. But like, there's some great players alongside a lot of just meh players who are not fleshed out well at all. So Millennials versus Gen X, my number 15. Alex, what's your number 15?
My number 15 is Blood versus Water. Um, now we get a good now we get a good rendition of the theme. Um, I just wish that the returnee players were, you know, picked better. There wasn't a lot of, players I really wanted to see. Like, Tyson was a great choice. Jervis was a great choice. Monica. Now it is because of Brad Culpepper, but that was a weird choice. Colton coming back, shit choice there. Um, but yeah, like Candace coming back, didn't need that. Rupert coming back, it was fun, but again, didn't need Rupert to come back. There's a lot of different picks you could have chosen to bring back for Blood versus Water, but you picked the I guess like that is not like, of course, my ideal cast. I really wanted to see Rupert for Blood versus Water. Um, but they did in fact make the Redemption Island way better this time around. It was more, of course, involving because of the families, and it was a lot more drama impacted. Fuck you, Brad Culpepper.
I was a
Still,
damn it, I was about to say that. I was about to make
um,
that joke.
it was kind of funny seeing him as like the kind of like the scapegoat kind of for all the emotions, and it's kind of fun to see how players needed to play around that. Tyson as a winner was great. Finally getting his win. But again, like the season overall, it's decent. I still hate how Jeff loves how Sierra voted her mom off. It's not that
Did
big
you
of a
just
deal,
say
dude.
Suri?
Just chill out about it. But you know, overall, decent season. Um, Loved winner, but I can't put it higher than 15. There's way more better seasons on this list.
Did you accidentally say Suri instead of Sierra?
I fixed it. I fixed it. I said Sierra afterwards.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Suri because her origin season, Panama, was my number 14. So I'm not gonna. I love the cast. I love the way a lot of them play the season. Some boring people. I'm not gonna lie. If you probably put like Tina and Misty and replace a couple of the Laminas and make it further with them, it's a tiny bit more entertaining. Was Lamina post swap Lamina ever gonna be entertaining? Probably not. But Kasaya brings it up to me, for me at least.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
conflicts on Kasaya really drive it up. I love Shane. One of my favorite moments, is when he gets that rash and he's like, Suri, you're a doctor. Can you help me with this? And he's just naked. And
Yeah.
Suri's like, oh, and she's like, Shane, it's because I'm wearing wet shorts. And it's just like one of my other moments. I almost quoted this before when you were talking about Panama. I'll come up to your apartment and I'll kill you in your shitty apartment. Wow. My apartment's not that shitty, Shane. I don't know if it is. I've never been there, Courtney. Like,
Yeah.
I love that. I quote that so I think I quote that a lot recently. The Blackberry, the chair, like Shane makes this iconic, and you even get some fun characters. Serene makes her debut. Ours is a very kind of flat character. I kind of like him more in Blood versus Water than this one. Because in fact he actually adds more depth. In that return versus Panama because I feel like they just don't care about him for most of the season. But Terry's a fun character. Danielle, I really liked. She's like the captain of sports. Yeah, but again, a lot of characters are just under edited or kind of fall flat. It's a very top heavy season. I think he said something about medevacs before with Russell Swan. It was you forgot Bruce where he gets medevaced and he got like Shane like with no pants on, just like helping to pick him up in like the middle of the night. Like that was
Yeah,
a
that is true.
horrible as a medevac is. I do kind of laugh at the part where Shane's just like completely like that's my number 14. I'm not gonna say much more about
Yeah.
Panama. It's a funny season overall. Like Shane
Yeah,
Power should have been
totally.
brought back already. He's one of my big four. Who
Second
should come
chance right there. They missed.
right?
And yeah, right. Can't believe it. Okay, my
Exactly.
14 is Philippines. I have it higher just because it's my first season I've watched, and I just have a bias towards that, of course. Um, this is one of my favorites, of course. The casting of the season was very good. Malcolm Dennis, Abby Penner, and Russell Swan coming back. Not that bad of a season right there. Um, you have Jeff Kent's, um, great player. Obama still owes him 600,000, I guess. For
It's only 600 grand by the time Obama takes it.
Come on,
I
man.
love that quote's so funny.
It's the best exit like confessional ever. And then the casting and storyline was, of course, the biggest thing out of the season. You have Penner, Russell, and Scoopin all come back for one last shot. Well, Penner might come back for 50, who knows? But um, it is like this was kind of like they're like finish. Like what can they do with this last chance they have to prove that they are a good player? And most of them showed it. Scoopin was just kind of a floater. He never really wanted to do a big move really. He was just kind of like coasting along. But I do feel like that the season was a great season to get out of all the early 20s bullshit that was going on there. But that's my 14.
I don't want to talk too much about Scoopin because if you're
Yeah.
watching, if he's a dumbass. Reg Foreman would have a field day with him. So if you watch that 70s show, you get that joke. Anyways, he thought he was actually going to win. And
Yeah.
I thought that's hilarious when I found this out because I'm like, really? He really didn't put the pieces together? Just like the runner up of the next season I'm going to talk about for my number 13, Survivor Samoa. Russell Hands,
Yep.
love Russell Hands as a player. So much fun to watch. I've recently been watching Australian Survivor actually, so I actually just got through watching him on the season of Survivor Australia, Australian Survivor that he was on. Um, it was really. I'm not gonna spoil it. Actually, if you want to watch it, go watch it. It's such a funny season. But Samoa, the post merge is what drives it up for me. The pre merge is okay. It's kind of just like haha, Foa Foa, you suck so bad. But then it's like after that, it drives it up. Russell drives up the season. It's kind of so essentially a Pagongan of Galoo, but I feel like with more fun theatrics. Russell Hanson Shambo drive the season up for me. Now this come from behind win, drives this up for me too a little bit, believe it or not, because like I said before with Tommy, all the way back in Island of the Idols when we're talking about that, it's a social game. And Natalie knew what to do, knew when to keep her mouth shut, when to open her mouth. I think this is one of the biggest seasons that needs a Snyder recap. One of the three seasons I think is the three biggest means Samoa, Go Silent, 41. Give Snyder recuts to those. Kind of this, give them more, like, give more Natalie, especially. Like, give more Natalie, give a little bit more Monica, give some more Brett in there. Like, Brett makes a Final Four. Who the hell is Brett? Like, I love the look he did. You're like,
That's a classic line. Russell saying, "Who the hell's Brett?"
he's not Mike Tyson. He's
Yeah, it's
Brett.
Brett.
Oh, all right. I
Okay.
understand giving a bunch of content to Russell, but it's like it was so much. Like he got 108. Natalie got like 15. It's like give
Yeah.
Natalie at least like 40. That's fair.
Hmm.
50 to
Yeah.
60. Compared to the new era winners, give her like 50 to 60. I think 50 to 60 is fair. 50 to 60 is very fair. Samoa just could use a bit of a re-edit. Like keep the content, but just add more to it, you know? Like give us like I'm not gonna talk too much about this. That's my number 13, Survivor Samoa. Alex, your what unlucky 13
My
gonna be?
13 is going to be Palau. Um, I love all the things you said about Palau. I'm just add a couple more things quickly. It's a season that can prove that there doesn't need to be any of course twists and whistles going on. Uh, and with a super predictable boot order and winner, I love the way the players started the game completely clueless on the island with no instructions and no tribes. I wish the show would shake this up like that up a bit more. But of course, everybody's a fan now, so it's kind of hard. Um, I do hate how they instantly vote two people off the island. It kind of sucks, but it was a fun little twist that they did. But it didn't really need to be done. But try new things. Um, but yeah, you said a lot about Palau, so I'll keep it short and sweet there.
I will say I actually forgot to include that part. I actually forgot that opening twist because I do agree with you. Big Brother does this a lot of time too, where
Yeah,
people will go through the whole casting process, work hard to get in there, take time off their lives, off of work, time off gaining money. They get on the island and or they get in the Big Brother house and boom, they're brought out. Survivor kind of did this, I feel like in Blood versus Water and Palau. I don't like it when they do this. At least give him like 3 days. You know what I mean? Like at least Survivor, I will
yeah,
say they didn't vote him off night one like Big Brother would have. But come on, like they got all the way out there. At least let him like compete in a
yeah,
challenge first
yeah.
outside
They
of
got
that.
no
Like,
chance at all.
right. I
Spoilers.
do think that opening thing was very interesting though. So I do agree with you on
Yeah,
that. There are a
yeah,
lot of very
totally.
interesting openers in Survivor, like Survivor Tocantins, my number 12. Um, the Job Health 3 is iconic. I think this is just a much. I kind of said it when I was talking about 44. The Tika 3 is a worse version of the Jollibee Health 3. I still stand by that. I mean, I love Carolyn. Jam Jam's cool. Carson, the puzzle twink is whatever. Token Chains, Steven's a strategic mastermind. JT is just a great guy all around. That season. And Taj, who doesn't love Taj? Like, if Taj wanted to come back, she would have already came back. I want Taj to come back so bad. Like, if she comes back in Survivor 50, I'll be happy. I don't know if she probably would, but I would love for Taj to come back. I feel like it's kind of like Samoa, but just better edited. You know, like fun moments with great strategy. There's less with idols. There's less of like one or two people kind of taking all the screen time from everyone else. Everyone, I feel like it's a pretty fair edit, like fair confessionals. And it's like one of the last locations I feel like we get with a very unique terrain that's not just island and a beach. With beaches are beautiful, obviously, but like I like that Survivor used to go like different locations, and Token Jeans was kind of interesting with that. So, I love Token Jeans.
Yeah,
A lot of great characters like Tyson Coach, Sierra, Aaron, JT Taj, Steven. Even some of the I actually did like some of the pre-mergers. Like Sandy was pretty damn funny. Carolina going out the way she does is a little funny, and I feel bad for her because of what happens afterwards. Go look up Carolina and David's Survivor if you don't know the full story. It's very actually sad for Carolina, but yeah, it's interesting, like reality TV drama wise, I guess. I don't know, but Tocantins, I mean, even Spencer, I love Spencer actually, so I think Sydney would have been pretty okay post merge. I don't know, but like Joe getting medevac is like kind of like he gets no content
Yeah.
despite his medevac meaning a lot to like the players, and it's like why does it mean so much? But Tocantins, I kind of feel like it's like Samoa with one small tribe making it to the end and dominating everyone, but just better edited. So that's my number 12.
Yeah.
And Alex, what's your number 12?
My number 12 is Millennials versus Gen X, actually. I do have it high, but all for good reasons though, you know. Um we start off, both tribes, just nothing amazing. But when we hit but when we hit the merge, it's betrayal on all ends, you know. Blindside after blindside, people don't know who's going next. The audience doesn't know who's going next either. So it's always a surprise when you see people like flipping on like a major alliance they have. And it's like, what's the plan there? Michaela's vote off, one of the greats ever. Um, what else? Oh, David's story arc, the whole season was amazing. Him making a fake idol that actually worked out very well for him is one of the greatest fake idol plays ever. Besides, Bob Crowley's, of course, on Randy, but yeah, that's also a great move by David. The final four was incredible, it was a big toss up for who gets to win. Going into the final episode, I didn't know who was going to win. Was it be Ken or Adam or even David? Who knows? But that's what made the season so well is that there's a lot of betrayal, a lot of blind sides, and a lot of people took it well. A lot of people took their blind sides well and didn't want, really hesitate about like, oh man, there wasn't really a bitter juror at all. It was just Ken tried to play a very honest game, and it does not work anymore. But Adam, I do think is a good winner. Um, his play on uh, his play on 40 was not good at all. But we'll get to that of course later. But this season was just an overall great season. Rewatchable, fun. Um, the characters were amazing, and yeah, the pro- the production was great as well.
I definitely agree with all that. It's funny you talk a lot about David because I think that leads me to my number 11 pick, David versus Goliath. Hot take to not have it too much higher. I will say I love everything about the season, but the winner. I do not like that Nick Wilson won. I I was kind of not liking Nick as a winner before it was cool to not like Nick Wilson as a winner.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, it just the whole finale felt so hammed up for him, and it's like I enjoyed the season up until probably the last few episodes where I really kind of felt like dropped for me because it's like not because like a lot of the big names were starting to go, but just because it's like I didn't want Nick to win. I wanted like Davey, Mike, Angelina, like Allison. Like I do think Allison was criminally underrated. I feel like they just did not really seem to care about Allison, which sucks because it's like Allison's such a fun character. Like, and apparently, from people said she was actually dominating a lot of the game, and that's why she was the big final five threat. But they didn't care about that. There was a funny controversy or conspiracy or whatever it is I heard, where if you don't know about this, like look it up too. I heard that it was like Mike got weed on the family visit from his husband, and that that's why he was so chill and mellow for the entire game, and that like production made something up like or said something that like because you were on drugs and you can't be on drugs on Survivor, so you're gonna get you can't win now or something like it's a ridiculous conspiracy theory. I don't think it was true, but like it's such a funny thing to listen into. Like I thought it was funny to mention. Like I really like the season. There's a lot of big power players and power moves, but there's also some people who I don't feel like we really get to know. Like who's Lyrsa, who's Jessica, um have like I mean some characters back and forth are turning heel. Like Jeremy's turning heel part of the time felt justified, part of the time felt like why is he just so angry? And it's just like sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. Like it's very back and forth. But I do love David versus Goliath as a season. I just Nick winning really brings this down for me because I think he has some moments, but
Yeah,
I just was
totally.
never satisfied with him as a winner. So that's my number
Yep.
11. Alex, what's your number 11?
It will be season one Borneo for number 11. Um, this one season of Survivor changed the whole landscape of reality TV forever. Um, there's no other show like this out, and there's a lot of stuff that's been taken out of this season that has been applied to every single season of the show so far. So it is a stand ground at a season, and of course, character wise, of course, they weren't fleshed out perfectly. First season there was still rough edges, but that's what makes it this great. But this great because you have a villain winning, and nobody thought, oh man, no, a villain can't win. It's got to be a hero. No, it's got to be Wigglesworth. It has to be. But no, you get Rich winning, and the jury's speeches were all amazing. You have Sue Hawk's rats and snakes speech, classic. You have just yeah, it is a very good season, and I cannot rank it less than 20. I could rank it lower, I could, but just the impact on the overall landscape of reality TV has been insane based off this one season of a TV show that aired in 2000. So I can't rank it lower.
Fair enough. It's actually really interesting. I've said this to a lot of personal close friends of mine. Suhawk actually used around the time of Survivor Borneo actually like filming and airing. Suhawk actually used to work with one of my uncles. And another one of my aunts saw the next season. I'm going to talk about my number 10, Senwando Sir. Senwando Sir is my number 10. The first season I ever watched live. I'm not going to lie. I've always loved the cast. I've always loved the season. I never understood the hate for it. Everyone's all like, Kagiyan was so much better. This season sucks. I just remember reading. I'm like, I like it. I like it. It was like Carson in that Challenge of 44 with Carolyn, where like Carolyn's like screaming, Carson's like, go Carolyn. And that was like me. Like, I like it. Like I liked it. There's iconic moments of like Jeff getting pissed off with the touchy subjects challenge and just calling it off. Like I kind of feel like it was like how the auction was with Worlds Apart, except just different challenge one season before. Where they kind of just crack it with the majority alliance refusing to break and like show their cards, which I mean I kind of thought it was funny. There's like Reed being all like, Missy, your daughter's a brat. My daughter's not a brat. It's like this whole feud that even leads up to Reed at the final tribal, just like chewing Missy out. And then he like even votes Jacqueline, not because he thinks she deserves a win, but because he wants to spite Missy out of tying for second place and getting that, co-runner up prize. It was just so funny. And like, there's so many other fun players I've seen, like Natalie, Keith, rest in peace, Kelly Wentworth, Jeremy, like even some other players that don't really like. I would have loved to see Nadia and Val go a lot further. Drew's fall for hard fall onto his head, cracking it open, power fall was hilarious to watch. Um, Wes, I kind of feel bad for Wes. Apparently, was the whole reason Keith even got on, or I think like yeah, Wes was the reason Keith even got on because it was Blood versus
Yep.
Water too. So like, Wes was the one who applied. He got Keith to play with them, and like Wes was a super fan who didn't even get to play a second season. Like I kind of feel bad. I almost want him to eventually come back because it's like he was the one that really wanted to be on it to begin with. Where Keith was kind of like, okay, I'm here. Like I'm a fan favorite. Like I love Keith though.
Yeah,
Um,
man. So good.
Josh was someone who I'd love to see back sometime down the line too. John, people don't know. Some people know, some people don't. Where John was supposed to be in Second Chances, but what happened was that he apparently didn't even see the messages pop up on his phone until after they had already moved on past them. And I got so awful hearing that because I'm like, John, like, oh, it was sad. He probably would have been a lock on
Yeah.
that cast too. But Baylor's blind side, iconic moment of survivors. Like Nat looks at Missy. Missy, did you vote for who I told you to vote for? And then Missy or Jacqueline's like, yes. Did I say Missy or Jacqueline? I'm gonna say Jacqueline. Jacqueline, did you vote for who I told you to vote for? Yes. I'm playing for Jacqueline. I can't believe I misquoted that. I'm such an idiot. I'm not gonna say much
Yeah.
more and risk misquoting more stuff, but like Natalie, iconic player, love her rise to power and winning, and just like Missy's and a little crutch thing I thought was a little interesting. Walking in crutches.
All right. Well,
Yeah, it's your
we'll move
turn.
on
Number
to
10.
my number 10 is Cook Islands. Um, the
That is
reason why
high up. Damn.
you
Sorry.
get a lot of good players in this season. Sure, it's their first time playing, but you get a lot of good players in this season. Um, you get Ozzy, who's an absolute stud and has been back for so many seasons now. You have Parvati, who ends up winning a season. You have Candace and Penner, who are both just villains and come back and are still villains, basically. Um, but of course, they put her on the Heroes Tribe, which kind of sucks. But
Candace is a villain? What are you talking about,
yeah,
Alex? I thought Candace was a hero.
but then you get the love between Billy and Candace as well. Like, who hates that? Come on, there is so much to come out. There is so much to come out of the season, and you have Yule finding
Candace from
the Super
Raro.
Idol. Candace from Railroad
From
Tribe.
Raro tribe.
But yeah, but then Yule finding the idol, the Super Idol, and not even having to use it, but just kind of luring Penner back into his tribe and managing to switch the votes, which is pretty insane as well. So there's a lot of good coming out of the season. And of course, there is some bad, of course, we know, with a lot of characters not being fully fledged out characters. But when you have this
Stephanie and her
stat of a
mashed
cast,
potatoes.
you can't really edit everybody equally. So I can see why they focus more on the I24, of course. But there's a lot of good and some bad, but it is still a classic season which produced a lot of good players. So I got to have it up in my 10 spot.
It's interesting you talked a lot about Ozzy because, just to jog your memory, who beat Ozzy? Who beat Ozzy?
Yule,
Who was on Winners at War, which is my number 9. Thank you for bringing it up, Alex.
good segue.
Thank you, actually. I'm getting better at segues. Winners at War is my number 9. I think it's a little overrated. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like Winners at War is a tiny bit overrated in my opinion, but it's a great season nevertheless, and I totally get the hype for it. I really don't feel like it deserves a spot higher than 9, but lower than 9 or 10 area. It definitely deserves top 10, but Tony's win, I feel like, is too obvious, which is one of the reasons I'm kind of like Tony's a phenomenal player. I'm not saying he didn't deserve his win, not at all. Tony earned his win. What makes it unsatisfying for me is the fact that it's so obvious. I personally do not like it when a win is so obvious that you can see it a mile away. And I hated it that was a lot of these wins in like the 30s where you could really see it from the entire finale plus like 2 episodes. Like you definitely want to hype up your winner and show like your winner, the winner is going to somehow win, but you don't want it to be so obvious that like you look around and you're like, is no one else really eligible to win? Like kind of like the Ghost Island thing. You knew it was Wendell or Dominic, and they just kind of underrated anyone. It feels like this, but to a lesser extent, to a much lesser extent in Winners at War. Like it's very obviously Tony. Everyone else is getting content, but is Tony not winning? No. Like it's kind of like that, I guess, if I'm making sense. I feel like it definitely concludes a lot of storylines from past seasons. People were having. It is an all-winter season. I don't think I can really put this lower. The other gripe I have, the old schoolers should not have just been taken out one by one by one by one by one. Ethan and Danny, at least. Give me at least both of them going to merge. Let's see Danny do another stealth bomber thing. Ethan getting more sweetheart moments with everyone. Like Ethan is like, I love Ethan. Like he's such an absolute nice guy. Amber didn't even get a chance to actually play first time in like 15-ish years. She got to play the damn game. Didn't even get to play the game because this Tyson going out that way was twice was really frustrating. And then Sandra just leaving the edge after getting on there was very frustrating as well. I get why Sandra left. It's frustrating because I was really excited to see Sandra play, and it's kind of like I don't know. Um, yeah, that's kind of my
My number
gripes with
nine,
it. I do think it's a great season though. Sorry, going to number 9. Sorry.
my number nine is China. A bit low probably, but it's still a top 10 season all around, of course. No, you can't argue that it is a top 10 season. Um, but you are in China, and they go to all these locations. They go to the Great Wall. They go to where's the other spot? Oh crap. Um, they go to the temple for these cool ass reward challenges. You have James finding two idols and getting voted out with two idols. You have Todd having this insane final three jury speech, which is again the greatest jury speech of all time. Jean Robert being a cocky person and actually getting humbled in during final tribal. So there's a lot of good, good, good story arcs and good players in
Did
this
you just say
season.
he got cuckolded in the final tribal?
No,
Oh, okay, I
it's
misheard
fine.
that then. Okay.
No, but there's a lot of good gameplay, a lot of good blind sides, and a lot of good story arcs in this season. Amanda Kimmel, great player. Um, she just cannot beat Todd though. Todd played an excellent game, and that's why it deserves my 9 spot.
I think you're probably gonna love what I have for my number 8. I say this sarcastically because of how low you had this, at least to me at least. I have it as Ko-Rong. I think it's a great cast. I think there's fun gameplay throughout it, really fun moments. You were giving me a look as you did. That was funny. I feel like a lot of people had a lot of stuff to do. Like I recently rewatched this a few months ago too. Ty's idol thing where he kind of stands up to Scott and Jason finally is like, no, I'm not gonna do this. Really fun moment there. Michelle versus Aubrey, a fun thing. Again, another thing with Michelle that kind of proves it like Natalie White and Tommy. If you if you talk to people the right way and don't piss them off on your way out, you will win the game. I do think Aubrey would have been a deserving winner too. But Michelle won for a reason. She knows how to play a game strategically and socially. And I do think it's kind of annoying that like the editors were clearly more of like, I don't care. With Michelle, I will say right now, Michelle got second. They would have just flat out ignored her completely in the end. It would have been more unsatisfying. But like Michelle is just I like Michelle. I like Aubrey. I like Ty. There's a lot of people. I do agree with stuff you said earlier about a lot of the medevacs and the side stuff going on that really kind of downs it a little bit, where there was just some challenges that were not planned out the best way. But there were just so many fun parts of the season, so much little conflicts to drive it up. Debbie, I really liked, where she's just constantly yelling about something in the funniest way. You get Julia's pointless back and forth flipping, and just like Jason's a villain, but I do like the fact that he would at least had like some heart to him, and there was at least like parts where he would talk about his daughter with autism, which call me biased, I do like that. It at least felt like he's a villain, but like he's not gonna be like completely heartless when it comes down to it. And like I do like that he was at least thinking somewhat about, even though he was a little bitter at the end, he was still trying to think about the game. At least it came off like that to me. So Karong is my number 8. Alex, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is Winners at War. I do agree with you. A bit overrated, but I can't put it too low, of course, because it's an all winners returning season, which is amazing. So I feel like number 8 is my best spot for that. Um, I do agree with you a lot about all the OG players getting voted out back to back to back, which kind of sucks because there's a lot of unfinished storylines with a lot of these old school players that did not get kind of resolved, and they can really prove why they were winners in the first place. On the other hand, you do have Michelle, who played an excellent game in this season, and I did get a lot of respect for her gameplay. But I still can't put Ko-Rong higher because her gameplay in another season did not really show well. She just got lucky because of the jury that they had during that season. But I will say that there was a lot of good editing. The production wise, really good. I did like how they brought back the Edge, just because we got to see a lot more from these characters that get voted out early. It's not just they get voted out and they're at Ponderosa. They do get some story behind them, and I love how the Firewood run was a really good showing of how you can tell a story without having really told a story, kind of. So it is a good season in that end. Tony, love the guy. He's probably one of my favorite winners. The Captain Ross storyline, great finish, excellent told story between those two. The only bad thing is I did not like fire tokens. Those things can go round in hell. I did like how Tony's extortion thing was fun to watch as well. Having him try to navigate and get, I think it was like 5 tokens, but yeah, good season, good way to wrap up a lot of loose ends and a good finish for a good player.
I definitely agree with that. There was a lot of stuff with I forgot to mention with the fire tokens and the Edge of Extinction. I agree with all that with Edge of Extinction. Like definitely it was obviously a way to get more Boss and Rob because I think even they knew like he's not gonna get it far. But I definitely think it was a
Yeah.
very entertaining season overall. So we're now at our top seven. So a fun moment, I think Jeff and I can agree with, very fun moment, is when a certain player realizes that the game has to expand. And that includes if you have to vote off your own mother, like Sierra did on Survivor Blood versus Water. The look you gave me as I did, you was. I don't know if anyone can see the look he just gave me, but he just looks so
Oh,
mad at
theyll
me.
see the look, probably.
When I thought I was
I
stupid,
hope so.
show it. Um,
Carry
I
on.
can't. Okay. I think it's a great cast. The theme is what drives it up a lot for me. However, I do think several players should have gotten a little bit more content, like Kat, Katie, Caleb. I think should have gotten a little bit more content. I feel like they're shown Caleb at least shown to be in a power position at one point, but he kind of feels like an underedited character still. R.I.P. Caleb, by the way. Kat is always one of my favorite characters. I'd love this if she ever came back for. If they ever did Survivor Third Chancers and Kat came back in a field of like Casses and Spencers, like Kat would be just instantly one of my favorites because like Kat's funny. Like, he's not gonna want to date me because I didn't make the
Yeah.
merch. Like, I love Kat. Just iconic in every way. I do love the fact that I actually like that he got Rupert back for this because Laura as a player I think was kind of interesting. Had a very downfall, but like I think it would have really been interesting to see her try to play out the merge, and her trying to live outside of Rupert's shadow. I did kind of like that. There were a lot of the loved ones players who literally were trying to look at it as like I have to go through myself to be a player and not be in my loved one's shadow, with the exception of Hayden Moss, Kat's then boyfriend. Now they're separated and married to other people, but I don't think Redemption Island should have taken out people in day two, but it drives forth the conflict, and I love to see that. You know, Tyson, Monica, Jervis. Strategically, it was annoying to watch it happen because you could see it from like 3 to 4 or 5 episodes away. It was going to happen, but just like entertainment wise, they were fun. Like Tyson and Jervis's dynamic was so much fun to watch. Monica was just so fun to watch. I love Monica. Like honestly, like I'm playing for me. I'm playing for Monica. Like I'm a neat lady. Like I love it when she says stuff like that. Like just I love Monica. Tyson and Jervis, I also love a lot. And this season, just them making the final three feels right. The fact that Tina got so close to being the first, or the first, I'm sorry, the second two-time winner, the first since like Heroes versus Villains to get that close. And then again, I think that was the first time they had a past winner since that point. But still, Tina gets so close to being the second two-time winner and just bring Tina back. Why doesn't Tina come back? She should have been a Winners at War. Expand it to 22 to 24 at that point and have Tina back on. Like, sorry, I love Blood vs. Water a lot. It is such a fun season. I still remember binging that season and watching it a lot during my lunch breaks when I used to work at one of my past jobs right after I left college. I'd get my food, I'd eat in the break room and just watch it. And I'm like, I love this season. The water slide challenge is one of my absolute favorite challenges. So, sorry.
All
Alex,
right.
what's your number seven?
No, not my number seven is David versus Goliath, and this is a very good season. The casting phenomenal, production and like overall storytelling phenomenal. Each character had their own story almost. Each character had their own story and ending. There was not like the pre-merge. Sure, it's not the best, but when you get to the merge, it is blindside after blindside after blindside. You don't know
Not
who's
gonna
going out
lie, I
next episode.
not gonna lie, I thought you were gonna call that part of it phenomenal as well.
I
I
could,
get the reason though. Sorry, continue.
but when you have characters like Christian, Gabby, Davy, Mike White, White Lotus, great, great TV show. Um, Alec, Angelina. This makes for a really great season. Um, Davey using his idol and Christian is still a top, my favorite top idol play as well. It's not like the best, but like it is a very, very good idol play. And the whole theme of the season is a theme that is actually good. And we didn't get a lot of good in the 35 in the 30s for themes, but this is a really great theme. And it kind of showed how, you know, how the old tale goes. But overall, I love how each player had their own story and how it all came either crumbling down or they came out top. So it's like it is a great season.
All right, thank you, Alex. From one great season to the next, I'm talking my number six, Survivor Kagiyan. And I'm just going to take an educated guess and assume our top six there might be somewhat similar, maybe just different placements or some of them. Kagiyan, I almost thought of putting up a little higher. There's a fun cast, dynamic relationships, and strategy that pops up. A lot of very fun rivalries that start this season, very fun story arcs to start this season, like Sarah and Tony, Cass and Spencer, Tasha with her little bits here and there, you have Wu's entrance into Survivor here with his all-time blunder, but then you kind of got some other people where it's like, who's Lindsay? She's a hairdresser who quits. Who is David? He used to own the Miami Marlins and he plays too hard. That's really it. Who's Garrett? He's a poker player that would probably rather have played Big Brother than Survivor. And like, I feel like the only pre-merge like people. I mean, you do get Cliff, who rest in peace, Cliff. I personally loved Bryce and Alexis. Jatia was fun. Then even post merge, you kind of get some people like who's Jeffra really? Who's Jeremiah? Where it's kind of like I really do like the cast. Fun cat. Even again, even the lesser people I just talked about, even they have their fun moments, but I feel like I don't know. Like I really wanted to put Kageon higher, but then I have the next few seasons, and I think people will probably see what I mean and why I put Kageon a little lower. The challenges are great in Kageon, even though I believe around Kageon and Blood versus Water was around the time they started to focus more on like endurance challenges being like every single challenge, and it was like less diversity in challenges that is. But the overall Kageon, great season. I love this season. Tony winning this season was just so fun to watch. And the fact that Wu pulled a Tony, and there's some fun speculation with this, I will quickly say, where apparently people speculate that Wu did not really know a lot about Survivor and didn't know that if they tied a Final Four back at that point, if they voted a Final Four and they tied, it would be fire making. So you see Wu's confessional of like, what are they gonna have to do? And like, there's a rumor our production member was trying to mouth the word like fire, but Wu thought the guy was saying fight. He's like, they're gonna have to fight for it, and I think they left it in episode of the finale, which I thought was pretty funny. There's some funny moments, but like the next couple seasons have a little bit more nostalgia for me. They hit home a little bit different ways. I think I once I explain it, you'll know what I mean. I went too long with this. Alex, what is your number six?
My number six is Pearl Islands. Yep, it is not my top five. It is not my top five. Um, the great thing is this season embraces the pirate theme to the extreme. You know, there's pirates everywhere. You have Rupert, who is indeed a pirate, basically, stealing shoes. You have Giant Fairplay, uh, getting drunk at Tribal Council and saying his mom died. Classics.
Grandma.
Savage willing, oh, just Savage telling Lil that she's not going home, and then kind of having to kind of put him in the ass. Um, Lil just being there and and somehow making it to the finals. I did like the Outcast twist a bit. It was a fun twist, never seen before. Um, I do like the Die Jerks bandana. That was kind of a classic. Um, what it's like? What was gonna say? Great season overall. I just can't rank it higher because I do have like I do have four more, 5 more seasons that I will rather watch than Pearl Islands, even though it is a great season and a great theme and a great overall story arc. There's other seasons that I will rank above it.
All right, fair enough. Um, my number five, maybe it's not in your top six or five. It's a season I personally ranked really higher because I liked it. Survivor China. I feel like Pearl Islands as another location where they really, or another season where they invest themselves, immerse. That's where I'm looking for. I'm sorry. They immerse themselves in the location and try to incorporate it in so many challenges, pre and post merge. And I really love how it works. And even at camp, they have like the little thing where they have the Art of War as a book they can just actively read during the game if they want. I don't like how it kind of was a pick on strategy, but I feel like it's a lot more entertaining of a way where they were willing to stop like going after John Who to make some iconic blindsides, like John Robert's blindside or James going out two damn idols with James going out with two damn idols. Um, the Denise controversy also makes the season a little better in a funny way. Like for those of you who don't know, Denise from Survivor China was gifted this like award of I think it was like 50,000 or 100,000 or something like that. She just got like a lot of money, and she got like a lot of money because she had this like sob story where like she was a school lunch lady and that they demoted her to janitor or something like that because she was too much of a distraction for the other kids and blah blah blah. Reality, she apparently they apparently like it was a higher paying position and she willingly took the job. It happened, I think, right before. It may have happened I forgot if it was right before, right after she came back from China. It happened, and the school corroborates this report she was saying at the reunion. Denise starts getting like flack on her for basically lying, and then she basically has to go out. I think she donated a lot of the money or all of it. I forgot what, but like it was a little bit of a funny controversy, in my opinion, that just kind of makes the season a little bit better. But even in China, you get, like you said before, Todd, you get Amanda, you get Courtney, who I love her in the temple scene where she's just like this, and like the monk next to her like puts her up, and she just rolls her eyes like no hesitation, no stop, just like straight. She wins a challenge by just sitting there and doing nothing. Like iconic behavior, Courtney. Like James introduction here. PG, how come on? How is PG not like if PG's not on 50, I actually will be kind of pissed. Like PG, like to even get a second chance. Get PG in there. Like I want to see PG play again. Um, you get so many fun like I think Jamie was a really fun character. I definitely think Sharia was kind of fun for the time we had her in. Frosty was a fun player. You know, it's just so many fun players emerged this season, become really popular. So China, I really love it. That's my number five. Alex, what's your number five?
My number 5 is one you ranked pretty low, actually. It is Tolkien.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought you were gonna say like Borneo or something I ranked really
No,
low.
no, Tolkien. From Coach being on this chase against Brendan to take out the dragon and being the Dragon Slayer, to the unlikely duo of JT and Steven, and even throwing Chaj in there, trying to rip off Jeff's arm she gets the call from his from her wife from her husband saying, "I'll be back at camp." Classics, you know. Um, you have Tyson just being an absolute jerk to people for no reason whatsoever, other than that, like in their face. This season is great for any like first watch and like newbie season. It is probably the best newbie season besides one I have coming up in two picks. So it's very very good season, very good location. You know, the Brazilian highlands, that's a first, you know, really great setting, really great production as well. Um, the only thing is, of course, uh, the pre-merge wasn't the best, but you know, the post-merge was one of the greatest I've watched, and that's why I rank it this high. You know, great characters.
Fun fact for you and other people who may not know this, Abby Maria was actually supposed to play Survivor Tocantins until she got cut out because she people were like, oh, or producers were all like, oh, you have some experience living with Brazil, so you can't like play because it'd be too much of an advantage for you. I don't know who she replaced, but I will say I loved her in my number 4 season, Cambodia Second Chance. Um, Despite the uneven editing, I think the fan voting really heightened this up to me. This is a lot better than for those people who want a bit of a time date for this. This is around the time where we just voted for elements of the game for Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans when it's up in the hands of someone's ass because it's really not doing anything. Like this is how you do a fan vote, CBS and Jeff Probst and Survivor Production. Let us decide the cast and the elements of the game. Back then, it wasn't as egregious with advantages and side twists as it is now. But like, and that was only like a decade ago. Oh my gosh. Cambodia though, really fun season. Despite the uneven editing, the fan voting really just makes it so good. I didn't like how obvious parts of the season were going to be, such as like Jeremy and Spencer obviously going to get to the end. Although I loved watching both of them play again. It was just so obvious they're both going to get to the end. And I don't like it when things are too obvious, but it was a little less egregious. Everyone did come into play. No one sat in their hands for the most part. Like people were willing to just go out and play the game, whether they're more assertive, aggressive, passive, however it was. People were out for redemption. You clearly saw it. Again, like Winners at War, I feel like Cambodia wraps up a lot of players' stories that like don't really like they're trying to wrap them up well. Some are very satisfying, some aren't. The location is great. I love that entrance thing where they're going through Angkor Wat and those temples. I actually have a friend of mine who actually recently visited those on her way back from a job she had. I think she was teaching in Thailand, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but she, I think, on her way home, visited Cambodia, went near Angkor Wat. I forgot she went in or near. Beautiful location. Just, I'm not gonna say much more than that. Cambodia is a phenomenal season. Second chance voting, they need to bring it back. Should have been second chances too for game changers, but yeah, sorry. Alex, what is your number 4?
My number four is also Cambodia. We both struck lightning on that one because it is indeed a great returning season. Of course, not the best, but we'll get to that. But it is again one of the best returning seasons of uh the like current era of Survivor. There was a lot of good players on this season, a lot of players that came out and actually wanted to finish their story, and a lot of people that did finish their story, and a lot of people that kind of left it on the shelf a little bit. But just to know, on a general rewatch, each player really played their asses off. And I'm so pissed off Keith didn't get to win, but I do like how Jeremy's story kind of finished off, and Spencer's story still is yet to be finished. Cass and Wentworth, great players. Wentworth somehow came up from the bottom and you know surprised everybody this season it, because she didn't get a lot of editing in the Samuel Dusser season, but she really proved that she is a good player. Cass, she brought the evil, and she is one of the best villains of like the newer era of this show, and she just is a badass gal. um, but like you have blindsides and blindsides and blindsides and blindsides each and every episode almost, and it is insane. Like even the idol like mayhem when Keith and Kimmy had like both like vouched for their safety in this game, and Keith was about to like, just dip it all because of Kimmy's story, and it was like damn, that's sad, but like Keith, stay in there. But like this season was all in all an excellent season, and it is really worthy of a top 5 spot on my list.
A lot of the exits, like Kimmy's, though, were really iconic, whether it was like the way they went out or like the reactions. Like Kimmy, I love Kimmy. I was so happy she got a chance to come back in the game. I really would love to see Kimmy, or even like I don't want to say a Snyder cut, but maybe like a re-release of Cambodia with just a little bit more content for people like Kimmy. Um, and maybe even see. I feel like Kimmy and Steven didn't get as much content as they should have in second chances. Um, Savage's reaction was one of my all-time favorites that I forgot to mention, where Abby's like, at least
Yep.
you made jury, and then Savage just gives her the middle finger, you know. Surprised he didn't do
Yeah.
this though in my number three spot, Pearl Islands. I'm surprised he didn't do that considering that was much more of aggravating way to get voted out. Love the theme. I love the location. Just for the season. It's the first of, I believe, three times, I believe. Yeah, three times that I can recall that they go to Panama in the US version. The way they incorporate the pirate theme is something I personally have always loved. Pearl Islands, I think, was the first old school season I ever watched. The cast is really great. Like, again, another season where I feel like even people who are just kind of lesser characters have a lot to do still, you know? You have Savage basically hating on anyone who's not like this ultra cool muscle jock guy and you're getting screwed out because um again kind of what I said about what I like about Redemption Island. Kind of a sense of pre-jury management. Obviously, a lot of people don't like the way the Outcast twist was introduced. I love it because it really started to show people the game and like, hey, like your past can come back to haunt you in some way, shape, or form. So never just assume, which what Thailand tried to do, but I feel like Pearl Islands does it a hell of a lot better. I feel like it works a hell of a lot better because of it. Like Burton and Lil make the season so much better as a result of their return. Whereas if there's no Outcast twist, Sean dips over, basically works with the Morgans, and then Rupert, Sandra, Krista, and Fairplay are probably taken out one by one by one by one. Johnny Fairplay's ultimate lie about his dead grandma, Sandra, I can get loud too. What the fuck? Like, I love Sandra so much. She's so funny. Um, and poor Krista, that she framed her for the fish, and like Krista's like crying, and Sandra's like, they're not getting any Rupert's fish, so I dumped out all the fish. I love that. And Rupert, how can you have Pearl Islands without Rupert? Like you said before, stealing the shoes, going full pirate, you know, fighting with like I think it was Byrne or Sean. I want to say Sean when the spear was lost in the ocean, you know. I found it. Oh, where do you find it? In the ocean. I love that.
Oh,
I quote that too much. Sorry. I'm going on and on and on. I'm sorry. But I do one thing I do want to say, I do think even up till the end, it was such a fun season. Like Jeff giving fair play shit. The final challenge, Lil giving fair play shit, which is like fair play. Johnny, do you see what these are? He's like, yeah, these are called squats. Okay. He's still trying to crack a deal with her. She's like, I'm not dropping. And then just everything about it just such a great time and just it's one of my favorite newbie seasons of all time. So Pearl Islands, number three. Alex, what's your number three?
well, I'm very happy to say we have the final two on lock. My third place is Cagayan. Um, for reasons you said, of course, great cast. Again, this is the one newbie season you've got to watch if you're a first time watcher. It is one of the best seasons to watch. Um, Front and back, great characters. Tony, great winner. He really carried the season on his back. Um, Wu being Wu being a bit of a weasel, love him for that. Um, Spencer being this like robot who has no emotions, and just the rivalry between him and Cass on the Green Tribe isn't. It was just spectacular, and like the editing is really well done in the season as well. Production wise, there wasn't a lot of big twists, and there wasn't a lot of overly extreme like wrenches in the gameplay. But that's what makes a good season where it's not a lot of twists and shit. It's all just basic Survivor, and that's how this season really stands out between every other season in the 20s. And the fact that it still holds supreme to this day as being a top 10 season is still insane because it is a very good season to watch and a very good binge if you are into Survivor. That's really all I need to say on that one because it is really great.
I think it's really funny you mentioned Weasel Woo because a lot of people apparently I think I found out not there are some people who actually don't know the whole reason behind why they all call him Weasel Woo. And for people who are watching who don't know it, the reason why is because early on, I think it was within the first week, I want to say, there was this huge monsoon rainstorm, whatever it was, in their family location, and they were getting pummeled. And Wu went into the jungle, accidentally stumbled onto a production camp, drank some of their water and food they had lying, or ate some of their food, drank some of their water had lying out, just hung out there for a few hours, somehow without any one of them knowing. And then Wu went back to camp. I think everyone somehow was aware of this, and at some point, and I would think it was a lot of food or a lot of water or whatever, but he was kind of just like avoiding a lot of the rainstorm and like everyone was pissed on him. So that's how Wu got Weasel Wu because he weaseled out of the storm. I think it's
Right.
funny you said Tony carried the season on his back because then I started thinking of Redemption Island and he's climbing up the stairs and Probst is like, Boston Rob carrying his family on his back.
No.
And do you want, and, it got me thinking of another season Boston Rob was on.
No.
Heroes versus Villains is my number two.
Oh,
I was so close to putting this as my number one. I will say that. It was very back and forth. Here's a problem I have. A lot of stories do not, unlike stuff like Cambodia and like Winners at War, a lot of stories from people that we really get to see in the game don't get followed up on. Randy, like Sugar's the first one out. Do we get any reaction shot of Randy, who definitely made a reaction? No. We have to focus on Russell. Do we get anything from Courtney, how fun of a snarky player she is? No. We have to think about Russell. Do we get to see any content with like Jerry and Colby finally reuniting in the game after like it was like 6-ish years at that point? No, we have to focus on Russell. And I will say Russell does make the season so much fun with his antics and everything. But at the same time, why does everything have to be Russell? Like, it's just like not in a bad way, but it's more of like, again, let's give some content to like Courtney. Courtney was very funny in China. We don't really get to see anything of her in Heroes vs. Villains. I feel like we don't even get to see a lot of like people like Colby. I feel like it's just kind of lessened down a little bit. And which is another reason I kind of a little bit because like a lot of the heroes were just kind of fell flat early on. I feel like the only hero that kind of rose up a little bit was Rupert because he actually started to like get a brain for the game in a sense and was like realizing like some hit secret little tactics to get in Russell's head. But again, Danielle, we don't really get a content from Danielle, what she's been up to. Candace flips. Why is she a hero? I don't know. I mean, I will be fair with this. Initially, Candace was on the heroes, and or Candace was on the villains, and Parvati was initially on the heroes. Even more questionable but they decided to change it because they didn't want four people from Micronesia on the same tribe. Because switching up one person totally makes all the difference, guys, right? Why Candace? I don't know. They wanted Candace in a different season, but I was very close to putting this at number one for Heroes vs. Villains. I really wanted to, but it's just like, come on. We couldn't have seen a little bit more of like other people. I really loved Courtney. Why couldn't we have seen Courtney? Like I don't know. Like there are some people, even like Coach, I feel like takes a back seat. We don't get a lot of Tyson, despite the fact Tyson comes in and dominates his third time. This is really his worst appearance. Like there's so many people who go out so early who I feel like just didn't even get an opportunity to really like showcase their footprint on the season because Russell kind of stomps his foot down. And it's like, again, I don't hate Russell. I love Russell as a player, but it's like it was very uneven editing. And that's kind of what got me a little annoyed. And Sandra, they kind of ignore Sandra, and that's the biggest part of what I mean with the Russell stuff with the edit. Is the fact that like it just doesn't really show a lot for Sandra and why she won. It doesn't really show as much as it does for why Parvati and Russell lost. And it's kind of a little less satisfying, even though Sandra's win feels right. Jerry was robbed, I will say that. Perfect ending for certain players' games, not perfect for other players' games. I think bringing back past challenges put a fun touch on this season regarding certain players' stories. So, all I have to say about my number two, Alex, what is your number two?
I think we all know. Well, I think we all know. I'm depressed now, but I have Micronesia at two. A season that definitely takes the fans and favorites label more seriously than Cameron did. Micronesia brought back some enjoyable players from the seasons after All Stars to play against a group of first timers. This season is just plain entertaining. with some of the most memorable, funny moments in the show's history. This is also There's also interesting strategy and gameplay, but the Black Widow Brigade is the ultimate best alliance in that fucked up is the best alliance in Survivor history by a long shot. And the Eric Wodoff just kind of shows how far you can push a guy to his limits to make him break. Um, Again, there's great moments, um, great players. I'm just depressed now. You're up.
My number one, Survivor Micronesia, fans versus favorites. That's my personal number one pick. The Black Widow Brigade, Party's redemption arc, Amanda's mini redemption arc, kind of redemption arc with Amanda. Let me put an asterisk by that. Cerie's rise to power and last minute downfall. Eric giving up immunity to Natalie. Ozzy's blind side. Eliza's whole it's just a stick thing. Like there's such massive blind sides, such big things going on. Pretty much every episode, there's always at least a shocker in the mix. What there's not really that much to not like about Micronesia. The only thing that was kind of like a gripe, like I mean, every season has its pros and cons. Micronesia, the edit did kind of stifle people like Amy and Yowman, I feel like, and some of the fans, like Who's Mary, but for the most part, you really get a feeling of who each and every single person is throughout the game. You really get a feeling of like how diehard are they? Are they willing to suck it up and push through, and get through the elements like everyone else? Like outside of Mary, I think we get at least a decent look at the fans in some way, shape, or form. I think it's a great season. I feel like a lot of stuff feels like it holds, like Heroes versus Villains. I feel like a lot of it holds a lot of weight. There's a lot of great challenges. There is a very much a lot of back and forth with Micronesia Hero versus Villains. In a year from now, maybe it could even change. But right now, Micronesia is my number one. I love a lot of the big iconic moments of this season. So, Alex, tell us about your number one. I think we
Well,
know what it is.
it's pretty obvious at this point. It is heroes versus villains. Um, just kidding. I'll stop doing the fucking depressed voice.
I was about to say.
So, this is of course my all-time favorite season of all time. No doubt about it. Each player brings in their own personality and quirks to each side. They even made a total drama series on heroes versus villains. Like, come on now. But like, no, but seriously,
I don't think you should be
you
reversing
get
that season of total drama here, Alex.
sure
That was
Russell
not a
kind
good
of
season.
sure Russell carries the whole season, but like you have JT giving his idol to Russell. You get Boston Rob you get Boston Rob losing to Russell in their low rivalry because Tyson made a stupid decision and voting Parvati, but it was a good choice on his part. But Russell just, of course, played his cards right and managed to make the best blindside in Survivor history. And then and then you get hold up, and then you get Treasure Island, the reward challenge, or it, yeah,
I don't know what was
with
happening. I was just sitting here watching Treasure Island.
Treasure Island,
That's not good.
where Amanda is fighting for his dumb advantage, and Colby's like,
It
"Man,
wasn't
no,
even
she
an
got it
advantage. It
first."
was a clue to the idol that I think it was already found at that point. I don't remember. I
Yeah,
think it
like
might have been
each
found though.
episode, there is always something going on, and sure, towards the end, it is kind of a cakewalk for the duo of Parvati and Russell, but you do get Jerry. She was the winner if they didn't vote her out. But there is so many good moments and good players in this season compared to Micronesia that I cannot put it under Micronesia. I have to put it above. There is so many good players. And I'll just leave it at that because I'm right.
You're right.
I'll
Is
leave it
that
at
what he
that.
said? You're right. Okay. Well, I didn't think there were wrong or right choices here, Alex. I will say this was again, Heroes vs. Villains versus Micronesia, very back and forth with me. Again, maybe even next year if we do this again next year, a couple years down the line, maybe that would change for me because I love Heroes vs. Villains. I love Micronesia. I do feel like Micronesia was a little bit more even, and we got to really know a lot of the cast and a lot of the people. Whereas Heroes vs Villains, it's again
But we already
internet
know
people, but I
all the
get it. I
cast
get
in
it.
Heroes
I get
versus
it.
Villains.
Even half the cast was okay. You know what? It's fine. We differ on it. I do think it's a top tier season. It's very back. I even almost thought about switching Heroes versus Villains and Micronesia at the last second until you started going on your little rant, but saying that you're right. But okay, I was actually about to just for you, but
All right.
all right. For those of you who are watching, thank you so much for watching. We had some hot takes here today, some pretty notable, cool takes. Cool takes. I don't know what I'm saying. Um, if you liked what you saw, like and subscribe, and we hope to bring you some fun content pretty soon. Maybe we'll do some other stuff about some other seasons we like to talk about. Maybe we'll do a winners ranking. Maybe we'll do other stuff. Don't know, but
Who knows?
yeah, who knows? Go follow our page on Instagram at Survivor What If. I will link it down in the description. I probably said like 3 or 4 times already, but still. Yeah, dude, yeah, like Alex was just doing it as like look down.
Yep.
Yeah, hope you liked our banter, our fun little things. And we'll see you guys in the
I'm about to
future.
punch 4 holes in a wall right now, not gonna lie.
The actual
Just 4. Nah.
just 4. And why just 4,
Yep.
Alex?
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Okay, have a great night, everyone.
Have a great night.